Chapter 499. The herbs in this valley had not been harvested for many years. There were many of them and they were growing well. As long as they were mature, Yixing would harvest them regardless of whether they were low grade, middle grade, upper grade, or supreme grade. Even though most of these spiritual herbs were useless to him, the fallen star sect needed them, and the more, the better. After spending some time, Yixing harvested all the mature herbs in the valley and kept them in his storage ring. Yixing harvested close to 100 low-grade and middle-grade herbs. He harvested more than 20 high-grade herbs. As for supreme-grade herbs, he only harvested 3. However, Yixing found a lot of top-grade spirit-grade herbs roots. It seemed like the four-eyed scarlet flame tiger had eaten a lot of top-grade spirit-grade herbs. After leaving the valley, Yixing continued to fly forward. He looked around and searched for a place like the valley where herbs grew. The divine continent mystery dimension was huge. Once people were separated, it would be difficult to meet again. Yixing only met 2 people in one day, and they avoided each other. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. Yixing found a few places where spirit herbs grew guarded by high-tier level 3 demonic beasts. Some of the level 3 demonic beasts were equivalent to Venerable 7 stars, while others were equivalent to Venerable 8 stars. The demonic beasts in the Divine Continent Mystery Dimension all had the bloodline of ancient demonic beasts. Their strength was at the peak of the same cultivation level. Yixing used the demonic beasts equivalent to Venerable 7 stars for practice and battle. Yixing used the greenwood sword formation to kill the demonic beasts equivalent to Venerable 8 stars. After a few days, Yixing harvested a large amount of spirit herbs. He even harvested more than 10 supreme-grade herbs. It was a great harvest. On this day, Yixing came to the edge of the mountain ridge and entered a dense forest. The forest was filled with towering trees and was filled with an ancient aura. The sky was blocked by the canopy, and the forest was very dark. Such an environment was suitable for the growth of some special spirit herbs, such as those with the dark and cold attributes. Of course, there were still demonic beasts guarding the high-quality spirit herbs. This was not a problem for Yixing. On the 7th day, Yixing found an ancient building in the dense forest. It should be a ruin from the ancient era. Yixing started to search inside. Ancient ruins had always been a good place to produce treasures. If it was an unexplored ancient ruin, there would be treasures everywhere. However, this ancient ruins had clearly been visited many times. Yixing searched one hall after another, but there was nothing. Yixing walked past a hall and his expression changed. He turned around and looked at the depths of the hall. There's an illusion array here. If Yixing hadn't instinctively activated his superbrain to scan every hall, he might have been fooled by the illusion formation. Yixing went to the depths of the hall and used his X-ray vision to scan the area with his superbrain. He carefully examined everything in the illusion formation and discovered that it was not empty. There were 3 stone platforms with a saber, a sword, and a spear on them. The 3 weapons were all supreme-grade spirit weapons. This made Yixing happy. I just happened to be lacking a supreme-grade spirit weapon spear. This was a level 3 illusion array with a level 3 defense array at the large success stage. This was not a problem for Yixing. Yixing took out a few level 3 formation flags, and it didn't take long for them to break the level 3 illusion and trap formations in front of him. The 3 supreme-grade spirit weapons lost their cover and 3 auras leaked out. The auras were very strong. These 3 supreme-grade spirit weapons were the best of the best. The aura of supreme-grade spirit weapons. Haha, there are treasures inside. I finally found treasures in this damned place. Yixing had just grabbed the supreme-grade spirit weapon spear when 3 voices came from outside the hole. Someone sensed the aura of the supreme-grade spirit weapons and quickly rushed into the hole. Yixing recognized them. They were the younger generation geniuses of the ancient Shang Empire, Shang Buchuan, Shang Zihan and Shang Yuan. Shang Buchuan was once one of the top 10 prodigies. Shang Zihan had fought with Wei Qingxian in the second round. Shang Yuan was in the same group as Yi Xing in the second round. However, he was eliminated by Shi Junfeng at the beginning and did not fight with Yi Xing. These three people were all 6-star enlightened masters and were ranked in the top 100. Especially Shang Buchuan, who was once a prodigy. When the three of them walked together, they were an extremely powerful force. Even the top 10 prodigies did not dare to underestimate them. The moment the three of them entered the hall, their gazes fell on Yi Xing. At this time, the 3 supreme-grade spirit weapons had already been grabbed by Yi Xing and kept into his storage ring. Shang Buchuan and the other 2 swept their gazes across the 3 stone platforms. It was not difficult to guess that Yi Xing had obtained supreme-grade spirit weapons from the 3 stone platforms. So it's brother Yi Xing. Shang Buchuan's gaze fell on Yi Xing. He smiled faintly and said, "Looks like brother Yi Xing's harvest is not small." Yi Xing's gaze swept across the 3 of them one by one. Using his super brain, he scanned their qi clearly. Although the 3 of them had smiles on their faces, the astral energy in their bodies was secretly activated. They could erupt at any time and unleash their fiercest attacks. Clearly, they did not have good intentions. Yi Xing said indifferently, "It's just a so-so." Shang Buchuan chuckled, "Brother Yi Xing, there's no need to be nervous. We were just casually asking. Hee, we're leaving." After speaking, Shang Buchuan cupped his fists towards Yi Xing and bowed politely. Then, he waved his hand and left with Shang Zihan and Shang Yuan. The 3 of their qi was still berserk and their astral energy was activated. Yi Xing smirked and secretly activated the flame shield array flag. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, Shang Buchuan and the other 2 turned around at the same time. A supreme-grade spiritual artifact sword appeared in their hands. Astral energy shot out and instantly pierced towards Yi Xing. The 3 of them attacked at the same time from different angles. They formed a joint attack and completely sealed off Yi Xing's escape route. This was a set of encirclement techniques. When the 3 of them attacked together, even the top 10 geniuses would find it difficult to deal with them. Die! The 3 of them shouted at the same time as they attacked. It was as if they were giving Yi Xing a death sentence. Ding! 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 With 3 crisp sounds, the 3 astral swords pierced the flame shield that had suddenly appeared around Yi Xing and were all blocked. A rank 3 defensive array flag of great completion. Shang Buchuan and the other 2 instantly withdrew their astral swords and retreated. They looked at Yi Xing in shock and exclaimed, "You're a rank 3 array grandmaster?" Their exclamations were tinged with fear. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, the green wood sword array flag was activated. Yi Xing nodded, "Yes, I am. Brother Yi Xing, let's talk nicely." Shang Buchuan's expression changed greatly. He wanted to say something, but when he saw the green wood sword qi that suddenly filled the sky, he shouted, "Leave quickly. Leave." A rank 3 array grandmaster had already activated his array. How could a mere 6-star perfected person have the chance to leave? The dense green wood sword qi fell and the 3 of them were sliced into pieces and died at the same time. Accidentally, 500 chapters have been completed. Thank you, brothers, for your support. Today's 2nd watch will be moved to tomorrow. Tomorrow's 6th watch will explode. Chapter 500. When Bei Gong Yidao had provoked Yi Xing, there had been a large number of junior martial artists watching from the sidelines. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, Yi Xing could only defeat Bei Gong Yidao, but he didn't dare to take his life. However, there was no one else in the hall except for Yi Xing and the other 3. These three wanted to kill Yixing and steal his treasures, so why should Yixing be courteous to them? He directly activated the level 3 Great Completion formation and killed Shang Buchuan and the other two with a wave of his hand. This result was something that the three of them did not expect. When the three of them worked together, even the top 10 prodigies would not be easy to deal with. Moreover, they attacked suddenly. If the target was careless, even a prodigy could be killed. Who would have thought that their ambush had no effect on Yixing at all? Instead, they were completely annihilated by Yixing's level 3 Grand Completion Array formation. Even a 9-star Venerable would not be able to deal with a level 3 Great Success formation. The three of them were 6-star Venerable Masters, but they only had the strength of a 7-star Venerable. How could they resist the Greenwood Sword formation? Naturally, they were instantly killed. You're courting death. Yixing said indifferently as he collected the 3 spatial rings and supreme-grade spiritual weapons. Then, he used the black hole astrology to absorb the 3's heavenly fate flames. Among the 3, Shang Buchuan did not have the highest heavenly fate flames, he only had a 5-star green fate flame. Yixing's heavenly fate flame turned from yellow to green. The 9 flames merged into one and finally grew to 5 flames. His heavenly fate flame had a huge upgrade, from a 9-star yellow fate flame to a 5-star green fate flame. Yixing activated the star fire seed and burned the 3's corpses to ashes. After destroying the corpses, he left the hall. After leaving the hall, Yixing took out the supreme grade spiritual weapon spear and examined it carefully. It was a dark red spear. Especially the spearhead, it was dark red like blood. At the end of the spear, there were 2 ancient words, Dragon Blood. It was a weapon from the ancient era. Blood Dragon Spear. Yixing revealed a satisfied smile. Compared to the Black Dragon Spear, the Dragon Blood Spear was far more formidable. With the Dragon Blood Spear, Yixing's strength would increase by quite a bit. With the Dragon Blood Spear in hand, Yixing was very confident that he would not meet a match under the 8-star Exalted Realm. Yixing was confident that he could defeat Mo Tong without using the Sagittarius constellation and the Black Hole astrology. On the 10th day of the opening of the Divine Continent Mystic Realm, 7 stargazing enlightenment platforms would appear in the central region of the Mystic Realm. Ascending the stargazing enlightenment platforms would allow one to gaze at the starry sky and comprehend the stars of the universe. One's ability to understand would be greatly enhanced, and one's cultivation of martial arts would have miraculous effects. Yixing's Flaming Dipper Fist, Flaming Sun Spear Tip, and Flaming Arrow art had all reached perfection. For most martial artists, perfection was the limit of martial arts. As for Yixing, what he pursued was the true limit of martial arts, the perfection of martial arts. Only when one's martial arts reached the perfection of martial arts could they be considered to have thoroughly grasped them. It was like cultivating a certain boundary. Only after thoroughly familiarizing oneself with it would one be able to break through to the next boundary and consolidate one's foundation. When one's martial arts reached the perfection of martial arts, one could cultivate another martial arts. This was also the consolidation of one's martial arts foundation. The more stable one's foundation was, the smoother one's future cultivation would be. The higher the grade of martial arts, the more difficult it would be to cultivate. But Yixing believed that as long as his martial arts progressed step by step until they reached the perfection of perfection, his understanding of martial arts would far surpass that of an ordinary person. Even if it was a higher grade martial art, he would still be able to cultivate it with twice the results with half the effort. Thus, Yixing had to go to the stargazing enlightenment platforms. For the next several days, Yixing approached the central region of the mystic realm. Along the way, he harvested some more spirit medicines. On the 10th day, when the stargazing enlightenment platforms appeared, Yixing had already arrived at the location. There were more than 100 martial artists who wanted to ascend the stargazing enlightenment platforms. Almost all of them were junior geniuses from upper and middle rank empires. There were only 7 stargazing enlightenment platforms. The enlightenment platforms weren't big. It was spacious for 1 person and suitable for 2 people. It was crowded for 3 people and impossible for 4 people to squeeze in. The 7 enlightenment platforms could only hold 21 people at most. Most of the martial artists who came couldn't ascend. The junior geniuses from middle-rank empires and prodigies could compete with the junior geniuses from upper-rank empires. The junior geniuses from lower-rank empires and the 72 lower regions didn't have the qualifications to compete. Naturally, they didn't come here. Instead of wasting time here, they might as well explore other places. Perhaps they would gain something. Yixing was an exception. When the 7 stargazing enlightenment platforms appeared, no one noticed Yixing's arrival. Mo Tong was the first to fly out and land on the first stargazing enlightenment platform. This enlightenment platform belongs to me, Mo Tong said with a smile. As the leader of the 10 great prodigies, no one competed with him. The second to fly out was Yi Wuyan. He landed on the second stargazing enlightenment platform and said, "This one belongs to me." Although Meng Yuanqing had ordered the supremacies of the Shui Feng Empire and the Sky Eagle Empire to test the strength of the martialist with the surname Yi, the martialist with the surname Yi from the Black Crow Empire was not harassed at all. Yi Wuyan was ranked second among the 10 great prodigies. Even Mo Tong would find it difficult to beat him. Who would dare to provoke him? As Yi Wuyan occupied the second 7-star enlightenment platform, the 3rd, 4th and 5th ranked prodigies, Ing Changkong, Mo Mingyue and Ing Xiangyang, flew out one after another and each occupied an enlightenment platform. Of the 5 stargazing enlightenment platforms, the Shui Feng Empire occupied 2, the Sky Eagle Empire occupied 2, and the Black Crow Empire only occupied 1. This obviously made the younger prodigies of the Black Crow Empire unhappy. Yi Wuyan said, "Wuxue, you take the 6th enlightenment platform." Of the 10 great prodigies, the 6th-ranked prodigy was Wu Yuanjing of the Black Tiger Empire. However, he didn't move at all and could only give way to Yi Wuxue. After all, there were a total of 7 stargazing enlightenment platforms. Yi Wuxue was ranked 7th among the 10 great prodigies. Since Yi Wuxue occupied the 6th enlightenment platform, the 7th naturally belonged to him. Wu Yuanjing didn't feel that he had lost out. As for the 8th, 9th, and 10th ranked prodigies, King Kong, Feng Jianlu, and Shi Jinyu had all been defeated by Wu Yuanjing. Wu Yuanjing didn't feel that anyone else could compete with him. Yi Wuxue flew up to the 6th enlightenment platform lightly. Of the 7 enlightenment platforms, only 1 was left. Wu Yuanjing's lips curled. Just as he was about to go up to the 7th enlightenment platform, someone was faster than him. With a flash of green light, Yixing was already standing on the 7th enlightenment platform. Yixing said, "This enlightenment platform belongs to me." Whether it was the prodigies on the first 6 enlightenment platforms or the other prodigies of the younger generation, they were all stunned when they saw Yixing on the 7th enlightenment platform. What was going on? There were only 7 stargazing enlightenment platforms, and there were 10 prodigies of the younger generation. Even among the 10 great prodigies, there were people who couldn't occupy a single enlightenment platform. Yixing had actually rushed up first and declared that this enlightenment platform belonged to him. Why? No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't change him. This was the thought in the minds of all the cultivators. Chapter 501. Although Yixing defeated Beigong Yidao has already been eliminated from the top 10 prodigies. There are still 4 prodigies who have yet to occupy an enlightenment platform. What ability does Yixing have to dare to occupy one? Wu Yuanjing already sees this enlightenment platform as his. Yixing doesn't know what's good for him. He will definitely suffer. A country bumpkin from a remote area is really ignorant. Once he achieves something, he becomes arrogant. He is only a rising star. How can he be compared to a true prodigy? He is doomed. The cultivators discussed fervently. After Wu Yuanjing recovered from his shock, he was immediately enraged. He had no objection to Yi Wuxue occupying an enlightenment platform before him because Yi Wuxue was a junior from a high-rank empire. His background was much higher than his. Although Yi Wuxue's strength was inferior to his, Wu Yuanjing knew that he could not be compared to Yi Wuxue. However, Yi Xing was different. Yi Xing was only a junior from the 72 lower districts. In Wu Yuanjing's opinion, in terms of background, Yi Xing was thousands of miles away from him. More importantly, Yi Xing was not even among the top 10 prodigies. Wu Yuanjing was ranked 6th among the top 10 prodigies. In terms of strength, he was stronger than Yi Xing. No matter how they compared it, Wu Yuanjing was firmly stepping on Yi Xing's head. Yi Xing actually dared to occupy a comprehension platform before him. This was simply preposterous. As the cultivators expected, Wu Yuanjing flew toward the platform in just 2 breaths' time and yelled, "Get the hell out of here." As he spoke, Wu Yuanjing struck out with his palm. The black tiger demonic wind transformed into a huge black tiger and pounced toward Yi Xing. A strong gust of wind blew, and its might was shocking. Yi Xing's expression remained calm as he faced the black tiger demonic wind. The dragon blood spear appeared in his hand as he executed the sunfire spear art and stabbed forward. Burn kill. A boundless flame aura burst out. A sea of flames seemed to appear behind Yi Xing, blazing fiercely. A peerless and terrifying power fused into the dragon blood spear, making this move exceptionally powerful. Break. The black tiger baleful dipper was pierced by the dragon blood spear and turned into astral currents that scattered in all directions. Wu Yuanban thought that he could blast Yi Xing off the enlightenment platform with a single palm strike. Then, he would land on the enlightenment platform and enjoy the reverent gazes of the other martial artists. However, things went beyond his expectations. Yi Xing was not blasted off the stage. Instead, he held a top-grade spirit artifact spear and pointed it at him. Wu Yuanjing flew towards the enlightenment platform, taking the initiative to collide with the dragon blood spear. Looking at the dark red spear tip, Wu Yuanjing's heart tightened, feeling a sense of danger. Wu Yuanjing somersaulted in the air, forcibly stopping his forward momentum. He fell downwards, unable to charge onto the enlightenment platform. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Wu Yuanjing's attack was actually unable to force Yi Xing off the enlightenment platform. Instead, he wanted to charge onto the enlightenment platform but was forced to the ground by Yi Xing. This caused Wu Yuanjing's face to flush red, feeling that he had lost a great deal of face. Whoosh! A beam of starlight flew out from between Wu Yuanjing's eyebrows. He used his astrology, causing his power to multiply. Wu Yuanjing's aura was wild. His gaze was like lightning as it locked onto Yi Xing. He shouted, "If you don't get off, then die for me." As his voice fell, Wu Yuanjing's hands moved. He punched out through the air, smashing towards Yi Xing. Boom. Boom. The wild black tiger baleful dipper was displayed. 2 giant black tigers appeared out of thin air. They stepped through the air, rushing towards Yi Xing. Ripples appeared in the air as the 2 black tigers collided with each other. Yi Xing could sense 2 terrifying bursts of energy pouncing toward him. For Wu Yuanjing to be ranked 6th among the top 10 proud sons of heaven, his strength was indeed extraordinary. The power of this attack was equivalent to a late 7-star venerable strike. Whoosh! Yi Xing also used his astrology. A giant flaming star floated in the air, the power of the flames greatly increasing. In particular, the power of fire and the flaming star complemented each other. Their power multiplied, causing Yi Xing's aura to become even more terrifying. Chasing sun. The dragon blood spear shot out a blinding light like the midday sun. In an instant, Yi Xing stabbed out twice. The 2 black tiger baleful dipper were shattered into fragments by Yi Xing, scattering in all directions. Wu Yuanjing's attack was also broken by Yixing, Black Tiger Slaughter. Wu Yuanjing was incomparably enraged. He used his ultimate killing technique. His aura suddenly rose by a large margin, containing a wild and berserk aura. Two palms pushed out, but four Black Tiger Baleful Dipper crossed each other and rushed forward. Like crazy demons, they crazily rushed towards Yixing. Wu Yuanjing had used this move to force Wei Qingxian off the arena stage during the Genius tryouts, obtaining victory. From this, one could see just how terrifying the power of this move was. The four Black Tiger Baleful Dipper contained a terrifying power. Their aura surged, causing one to be intimidated and not dare to resist. Yixing's will was firm. Facing this attack, his mind didn't support him at all. There wasn't the least bit of fear on his face. Instead, his eyes widened and he shouted out, "Kill!" As his voice roared out, sound waves surged out, spreading out in all directions. Yixing's aura rose, no weaker than the aura of the four Black Tiger Baleful Dipper. As Yixing shouted, the dragon blood spear in his hand erupted with a resplendent light. He used the ultimate skill of the Sunflame spear arts, Flame Explosion. Boom! The resplendent astral ball instantly exploded like a huge bomb. Terrifying shockwaves instantly spread out in all directions, causing terrifying shockwaves to spread out. The four madly charging Black Tigers were blasted into pieces by this terrifying explosion, scattering in all directions. The air current surged and swept over, containing a terrifying force. Not only did it blow Wu Yuanjing's hair to the back, it also pushed his body back repeatedly. When the terrifying shockwave stopped, Wu Yuanjing had already retreated dozens of steps, panting heavily. He had just executed the ultimate move of Black Tiger Slaughter, and it was at the moment when his body was at its weakest that he was hit by the shock wave. The astral baleful energy in his body circulated, and he immediately lost his breath. His heart ached faintly, and it was difficult for the astral baleful energy to be forcefully activated. His strength was greatly reduced. Yixing stood on the enlightenment platform. He slammed the dragon blood spear against the platform, causing a loud clang to ring out. He loudly said, "Who wants to compete with me for this enlightenment platform? Bring it on." At this moment, a powerful energy surged out from Yixing's body, causing his clothes to flutter without any wind. His black hair fluttered, giving him the aura of a master. Many of the martial artists that wanted to compete for the 7th enlightenment platform felt their minds shake, and they retreated again and again. Even Wu Yuanjing wasn't able to snatch the enlightenment platform from Yixing's hands. Who else present had the strength to do so? Even Vidra, Wind Sword, and Shi Jinyu, these three junior powerhouses of the top 10 proud sons of heaven, knew that they didn't have the strength to do so. They couldn't compare to Wu Yuanjing, so they naturally weren't Yixing's match. As for the proud sons of heaven that were ranked higher than Wu Yuanjing, they had already occupied an enlightenment platform. If they went to fight with Yixing, they would have to give up their enlightenment platforms. There was clearly no need for that. Chapter 502. Wu Yuanjing glared at Yixing, his eyes filled with ferocity. Yixing's gaze swept across all the martial practitioners and finally landed on Wu Yuanjing. "You still want to try?" Yixing's voice was filled with astral energy. It was extremely powerful and intimidating. A cloud vortex appeared in Yixing's eyes as he used the Eye of Clear Cloud. His spiritual power directly attacked the depths of Wu Yuanjing's mind. Moreover, Yixing activated the Grand Fire Force. The Grand Fire Force at the peak of the minute's subtlety was extremely terrifying. Coupled with the spiritual attack, it turned into a huge fire dragon in Wu Yuanjing's eyes and pounced over. Wu Yuanjing's mind trembled. His eyes were filled with lightning as he retreated repeatedly with shock. Although Yixing's eye of clear cloud was not enough to control the spiritual power of a martial practitioner at the level of a venerable 7-star, it was enough to damage the target's spiritual power and even break the target's spiritual defense line. The ferocity in Wu Yuanjing's eyes disappeared. He looked at Yixing with only fear in his eyes. His expression changed as he turned and quickly left, not daring to stay any longer. Since Wu Yuanjing had given up on fighting for it, naturally no one dared to attack Yixing. The 7th Enlightenment platform belonged to Yixing. Now, the 7 stargazing Enlightenment platforms already had owners. However, the Enlightenment platforms could still accommodate people. As long as the martial artist occupying the Enlightenment platform agreed, the other martial artists would also have the chance to ascend the Enlightenment platform. Mo Yang and Mo Tong were very close. Yi Binglong ascended the first Enlightenment platform occupied by Mo Tong, while Yi Binglong ascended the second Enlightenment platform occupied by Yi Wuyan. Every junior prodigy had someone close to them. Some were siblings, and some were close friends. They all used their connections to ascend the Enlightenment platforms. Very quickly, one person each ascended Enlightenment platform number 1 to number 6. As for the 7th Enlightenment platform, it was occupied by Yixing. He was the only one there for the time being. Zixuan, come up too. Meanwhile, Mo Tong's voice resounded from the number 1 Dao comprehension platform. 1 Dao comprehension platform was just right for 2 people. 3 people would be cramped, but Mo Tong was obviously willing to let Wei Qingxian onto Dao comprehension platform number 1. It was fine if it was a little crowded. Wei Qingxian stepped forward and said, "Senior brother Mo Tong, the first Enlightenment platform is too crowded. There's only young Master Yi on the 7th Enlightenment platform. I want to ask young Master Yi if he's willing to let me onto the 7th Enlightenment platform." Mo Tong's face turned green. He had invited her, but Wei Qingxian had refused. Instead, she had gone to ask for Yixing's opinion. This made him very angry. Wei Qingxian turned her gaze to Yixing and said, "Young Master Yi." Yixing already knew what Wei Qingxian wanted to say, so how could he not agree? Without waiting for Wei Qingxian to ask, he said, "If Miss Si Xian is willing to share the stage with this Yi, then this Yi is more than happy to." Wei Qingxian smiled and said, "Many thanks to young Master Yi for granting my wish." Finished speaking, Wei Qingxian flew up and landed on the 7th Dao comprehension platform. Yixing and Wei Qingshuan's eyes met. Sparks flew from their gazes as they both revealed knowing smiles. However, in the eyes of other cultivators, this scene was simply love at first sight between Yixing and Wei Qingxian. This made many cultivators envious of Yixing. Even though Wei Qingxian was wearing men's clothing, the cultivators could see that she was a stunning beauty. She was not inferior to the 2 female prodigies, Mo Mingyue and Yi Wuxue. A stunning beauty who was born in an upper-rank empire actually fell in love with Yixing, a junior cultivator from the lower province. The cultivators felt that Yixing had hit the jackpot. How could they not be envious? However, the cultivators attributed the reason to Yixing's young and dignified appearance. He was only at the 5th level of the astral realm, but he had defeated Wu Yuanjing, who was ranked 6th among the 10 great prodigies. However, they did not know that something had already happened between Yixing and Wei Qingxian. Most of the cultivators were simply envious. However, there were some who were not only envious, but also deeply jealous. Especially Mo Tong. As a core disciple of the Blood Edge Empire's imperial family, he had a noble status. Moreover, his aptitude was extremely heaven-defying. In this golden age of martial arts, he was still able to maintain his first place among the 10 great prodigies. He would definitely achieve great things in the future. His destiny was as high as a 7-star green destiny. In the future, he would at least become a 7-star honorable lord. Moreover, he had high hopes of becoming an 8-star honorable lord. In the past 2 years, Mo Tong had witnessed Wei Qingxuan's growth. He had long since fallen in love with Wei Qingxian. Moreover, he had always intentionally or unintentionally revealed his feelings for Wei Qingxian in front of Wei Qingxian. However, Wei Qingxian had never responded. She had always been cold to him. Wei Qingxian was not only cold to him. She was cold to others as well. It was not that Wei Qingxian was aloof. She was polite to everyone. Her words were pleasant, and she made people feel comfortable. It was easy to be friends with Wei Qingxian. However, it was very difficult to become friends with her. Because Wei Qingxian was the same to everyone, Mo Tong could tolerate Wei Qingxuan's coldness to him. However, Wei Qingxuan's attitude towards Yixing today was different. Especially when Wei Qingxian looked at Yixing. There was joy in her eyes. This was something that Mo Tong could not tolerate. Why? Why is she so cold to me, but so warm to Yixing? How am I inferior to Yixing in any way? Mo Tong was indignant. His jealousy turned into hatred. A murderous intent silently rose in his heart. He glanced at Yixing on the number 7 stargazing enlightenment platform and thought to himself, "You think differently of him, but I will prove to you who is the true number 1 prodigy of the East Divine Continent. He will comprehend martial arts for now. When the enlightenment platform disappears, I will make him disappear with it." Mo Tong's heart was filled with resentment, but Yixing didn't place him in his eyes. He didn't even think about him. At this moment, Yixing and Wei Qingxian were sitting opposite each other, and Yixing and Wei Qingxian were communicating via voice transmission. If they were too far away, there was a risk that their telepathic communication would be intercepted. However, they were sitting opposite each other. There was no one else around, so telepathic communication was naturally safe. Qingxian. Yixing. In the blink of an eye, it has been more than 2 years since we last met. How have you been? Very good. After Queen Lanqin took me away from the Spirit Moon sect, she gave me many things. Later, when she found out that the Deyuan dynasty was holding a genius selection, she arranged for me to study at the Blood Edge Empire's Imperial College. The elders there took good care of me, so I've had a smooth time over the past 2 years. Yixing, I heard from Queen Lanqin that you have met the Black Tiger King. The Black Tiger King has confirmed that you are the Fiend Star of Chaos. Is that right? The Deyuan dynasty is holding the Heavenly Capital selection just to find me. Then you still dare to participate in the genius selection? What if the Deyuan dynasty finds out? Don't worry. If the Deyuan dynasty cannot confirm it, they will not make a move on me. They have spent so much effort to hold 3 genius selections. Why would they make a move just because of a little guess? If they kill the wrong person, wouldn't it be a waste of their effort? They will definitely wait until the 3rd genius selection to confirm who is the Fiend Star of Chaos before making a move. Chapter 503. Then after the 3rd genius selection, won't your life be in danger? Wei Qingxuan's tone was worried. Since Brother He Biao dares to let me participate in the 3rd selection, he'll definitely be able to protect my life. I trust him. Brother He Biao. Wei Qingxian was speechless. He Biao King was a 3-star king and the strongest king in the Dark Star sect. How's Marquis Zishan doing? Wei Qingxian changed the topic. After being taken away by Princess Lanqin, she hadn't heard any news from the Qingyun region. She wondered how her old friends were doing. He's doing well. I've already found the resurrection pill and healed his legs. Furthermore, he's already broken through the astral realm and become an enlightened master. Yixing replied honestly. However, the tone of his voice suddenly changed. But, the Spirit Moon sect isn't doing well. What happened to the Spirit Moon sect? The Deyuan dynasty's experts destroyed the Spirit Moon sect. What? Wei Qingxuan's body trembled, and her eyes were filled with shock. She almost cried out. Although she hadn't been in the Spirit Moon sect for long, she had broken through to the astral vortex realm there and awakened her first memory. Moreover, her master, Enlightened Master Yenyue, had been very good to her. Enlightened Master Yenyue's image was still fresh in her mind. Wei Qingxian couldn't believe that the Spirit Moon sect had been destroyed. Don't reveal any flaws. Yixing immediately transmitted his voice. Although the cultivators who hadn't gone to the Enlightenment platform had all left and those on the platform were comprehending martial arts, Wei Qingxuan's strange expression could still be seen by others. Wei Qingxian immediately retracted her expression, but her tone was a little bleak. I'm the one who destroyed the Spirit Moon sect. The Diyuan Empire is too ruthless. It has nothing to do with you. I have never offended the Diyuan Empire. However, the Diyuan Empire is racking their brains to find me. If they know of my whereabouts, they will also destroy the Meteor sect. At this point, Yixing's heart shook. Only now did he realize that if his identity was completely exposed during the third selection, the Falling Star sect and even the Ya family might be harmed by the Diyuan dynasty. It seemed like both the Ya family and the Falling Star sect had to move to another place to avoid the Diyuan dynasty. One day, I will exact vengeance for the Spirit Moon sect from the Diyuan dynasty. Wei Qingxuan's tone was firm and resolute. What about the Wei clan of Tiansang City? Did they suffer any casualties? Wei Qingxian continued to ask. Although she was the reincarnation of a powerful being, her past life was her most important experience as she recovered her consciousness. However, she was born in the Wei clan of Tiansang City in this life. She was indebted to the Wei clan for giving birth to her, so she valued the Wei clan more than the Spirit Moon sect. Because of Wei Qingxian, the Wei clan was taken care of by Hua Tianfeng in Tiansang City and developed well. However, Wei Qingxian was not in the Falling Star sect but in the Spirit Moon sect. Therefore, Hua Tianfeng did not take care of the Wei clan as much as the Ya family. Their development was slightly worse than the Ya family's. Yixing replied, "The Wei clan is doing well. You don't have to worry. I've been away from home for almost 3 years. I wonder how my parents and sister are doing." "Yixing, I'll go with you when you go back this time." "How can you do that?" "You're now the genius of the Blood Edge Empire, Zixian. What if the Great Yuan dynasty finds out that you're Wei Qingxian from the Spirit Moon sect?" "I'll go as Zixian. It's fine. Hee hee. Zixian fell in love with you at first sight. It's normal for you to bring your girlfriend back. When we reach the I'll secretly go back to the Wei clan and meet with my parents and sister. I won't let anyone know." "Alright, that works too." Their gazes met and they smiled faintly. The tenderness in their eyes deepened. After looking at each other for a moment, Yixing said, "Alright, it's rare for you to be on the Star Observatory Enlightenment platform. Don't just talk. Make the best use of your time to comprehend martial arts." Yixing took out several formation flags and placed them around the Star Observatory Enlightenment platform. It was forbidden to be disturbed when one was observing the stars and comprehending the Tao. Therefore, the formation was used to protect the surroundings. As for the Enlightenment platform, only Yixing and Wei Qingxian could trust each other. Naturally, they could comprehend the Tao in peace. The two closed their eyes and calmed their minds. They merged with the aura of the Enlightenment platform. Soon, their minds were affected by the Enlightenment platform and they arrived in the starry sky. In the starry sky, there were countless stars in all directions. It was vast and boundless. These stars were not static but were moving. Yixing observed the movement of the stars and found that they were extremely mysterious and profound. They contained a supreme Tao that was difficult to describe with words. As long as one could sense a trace of this Tao, it would have a great effect on any martial arts. The changes of the stars in the universe contained the Tao of heaven and earth. Martial arts were also derived from the Tao. The changes of the stars in the universe were the origin of martial arts. If one could sense it, they would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. They would have a unique understanding of martial arts. Yixing silently observed the changes of the stars. His mind in the starry sky involuntarily moved as he cultivated the flaming dipper fist. Yixing cultivated over and over again. He was affected by the Tao of the changes of the stars in the universe. Every time he cultivated, he would have a different understanding and his attainments would become higher and higher. After practicing for an unknown number of times, Yixing's flaming dipper fist finally had a qualitative breakthrough. When Yixing executed it, it reached perfection. Not only did its power increase, but it also gave him an extremely comfortable feeling when he executed it. Furthermore, when Yixing executed the flaming dipper fist, he was no longer restricted to the moves. He could change the moves at will at any time. Different moves could be linked together without any feeling of disharmony. Sometimes, there was even no need to execute the moves of the flaming dipper fist. The dipper fist that was blasted out had the same effect as the ultimate move of the flaming dipper fist. This was the realm where no move was better than a move. It was also the perfection realm of martial arts. At this point, martial arts were no longer just moves, but a kind of comprehension. After comprehending it, one only needed to circulate the dipper fist's basic moves in the body. Then, a casual strike would have the power of an ultimate move. After cultivating the flaming dipper fist to the perfection realm, Yixing switched to cultivating the flaming sun spear art. In the starry sky, Yixing raised his hand and a treasured spear appeared. He executed the flaming sun spear art move after move. Just like the flaming dipper fist, Yixing's flaming sun spear art's attainments rose steadily under the Tao of the revolutions of the stars in the universe. Yixing repeated the moves over and over again. However, his gains were constantly accumulating and his attainments were becoming more and more profound. Finally, after thousands of times of execution, the flaming sun spear art had also broken through the perfection realm and reached a realm that other warriors would never be able to reach in their lifetime, the perfection realm. The two upper spiritual martial force had both reached the transformation stage. Their power was no less than the great success stage of the spiritual martial force. They were even smoother and more flexible when they were used. In terms of combat power, they were even more powerful than the great success stage of the spiritual martial force. Chapter 504. After cultivating the Sunfire Spear art to the transformative stage, Yixing continued to cultivate the Fiery Arrow art in the cosmos. However, he did not cultivate for long before his mind withdrew from the cosmos. Opposite him, Wei Qingxian also opened her eyes and also withdrew from the cosmos. The other martial artists on the Enlightenment platforms did the same. The stargazing Enlightenment platforms did not appear for an unlimited period of time. It was only for 7 days. Cultivating martial arts with one's mind in the cosmos, it was difficult to sense the passage of time. It turned out that 7 days had already passed. All the martial artists had joyful looks on their faces. Clearly, they had all gained something. Yixing and Wei Qingshuan's stomachs were growling. Although perfected persons had already started fasting, just the energy in their bodies could last for a month or two without eating or drinking. However, after a long time, they would still feel hungry. 7 days was already not a short time. The other martial artists all felt hungry. All the martial artists had food in their storage rings. Next, they should find a place to eat. Yixing looked at Wei Qingxian and smiled. "You must be hungry. I still have some good ingredients on hand. Come and eat roasted meat with me." Wei Qingxian nodded. "Okay." On the number 1 Enlightenment platform, Mo Tong's gaze had long locked onto Yixing and Wei Qingxian. Seeing that Wei Qingxian agreed to eat roasted meat with Yixing, Mo Tong, who was already incomparably jealous, burned with jealousy. The stargazing enlightenment platforms were sinking into the ground. Mo Tong leaped up from the number 1 enlightenment platform. A supreme-grade flying spirit artifact appeared behind him as he flew towards Yixing and Wei Qingxian. There was another person who was even faster than Mo Tong and shot out from the number 5 enlightenment platform. It was the Heavenly Eagle Empire's junior genius, Xiangyang. Xiangyang was originally a rising star, but during the competition, he defeated many geniuses in one fell swoop and rushed into the top 10. He was ranked 5th, and his strength was unparalleled. When they had first entered the divine continent mystic realm, Xiangyang had chased after Yi Tianhe. In the end, Yi Tianhe had managed to escape. When they had reached the vicinity of the stargazing enlightenment platform, Xiangyang had made Yixing his next target. He had decided to strike when the stargazing enlightenment platform disappeared. Now that the stargazing enlightenment platform was about to sink into the ground, Xiangyang immediately rushed toward Yixing. "Brat Yi, take this." While he was in the air, Xiangyang let out a loud shout. A supreme-grade spirit spear appeared in his hand, and he thrust it forward. The astral spear transformed into a huge eagle. Its wings spread out over 10 zhang, covering the sky and covering the sun. It contained a peerless and terrifying power as it pounced towards Yixing. From afar, a violent gust of wind blew over, its power shocking the heavens. Yixing stood up, the dragon blood spear appearing in his hand. He used the sun flame spear technique of the transformative stage. The tip of the spear shone brightly, like the blazing sun. It burst out, a scorching aura covering the sky and the earth. The air waves rolled back and collided violently with the astral spear technique. Boom! The 2 astral spears exploded into fragments of astral chi. The spear techniques of the 2 supreme-grade spirit spears collided with a crisp clang. Yixing's body was like a mountain, unmoving. He did not move at all. Xiangyang, on the other hand, was shocked. He flipped backward and landed on the ground, taking 3 steps back. Xiangyang was surprised. On the enlightenment platform, he had improved his attainment of the astral spear technique. It had far surpassed the initial stage and was about to break through to the greater stage. However, he had been forced back by Yixing's upper-grade spirit spear technique. Xiangyang could not believe this. Yixing and Wei Qingxian jumped down from the enlightenment platform. Yixing walked forward and shouted loudly, "Who are the rascals that want to harm me? Come out. All of you come at me together, so that I don't have to attack multiple times. It's troublesome." As he spoke, Yixing's gaze swept across Mo Tong and Xiangkong. Mo Tong was number 1 among the top 10 prodigies and Xiangkong was number 3. The former had wanted to kill Yixing because of Wei Qingxian. The latter wanted to help because Xiangyang had been forced back by Yixing. Yixing's words shocked all the warriors present. Even Wei Qingxian, who was behind him, was no exception. Yixing was implying that Mo Tong, Xiangkong and Xiangyang should come at him together. He called them rascals. Could he be any more heaven-defying? Which of the top 10 prodigies was not powerful? Especially the top 5. They were at least the top of the 7-star venerables. The number 1 was the top of the 7-star venerables. If the number 1, number 3 and number 5 prodigies worked together, how terrifying would their strength be? Even an 8-star venerables would not dare to underestimate them. However, from Yixing's tone, it seemed that he did not put Mo Tong, Xiangkong and Xiangyang in his eyes. He did not care if the 3 of them worked together. Yixing's contempt made Mo Tong, Xiangkong and Xiangyang furious. The 3 of them wanted to work together against Yixing. To the 3 of them, this was an insult. Whoosh! A beam of starlight soared into the sky. Xiangyang had used his astrology. It was a hurricane star, an extreme astrology. To deal with a country bumpkin like you, Xiangyang, am enough. There is no need for the three of us to work together. Xiangyang shouted. His figure flashed and instantly disappeared, turning into a series of afterimages. Xiangyang's movement technique was extremely fast. His comprehension of the grand force of wind had also reached the minute's subtlety realm. Moreover, his extreme hurricane astrology greatly increased his speed. This allowed Xiangyang's speed to reach a shocking level. Even the 7-star venerables would find it difficult to see his figure clearly. Xiangyang moved extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he changed positions several times. He circled around Yixing, looking for an opportunity to attack. Suddenly, a flying eagle spear appeared and pierced towards Yixing. It was so fast that all the spectating warriors cried out in alarm. Yixing didn't even use his astrology. His body didn't move at all. He only activated the flame shield array flag. In an instant, the flame shield array appeared around him. With a boom, the flying eagle spear pierced the flame shield array and shattered. However, it couldn't shake the flame shield array at all. Level 3 Greater Success Defensive Array. Level 3 Array Grandmaster. All the warriors cried out in alarm. They were extremely shocked. They never expected that Yixing, who was only a 5-star venerable, would be a level 3 Array Grandmaster. How powerful was a level 3 Array Grandmaster? If he had both defensive and offensive array flags, even the 9-star venerables would find it difficult to fight against him. Ding ding ding, Yixing didn't move at all. He allowed Xiangyang to attack. The Supreme Grade Spirit Weapon Spear pierced the flame shield array, causing sparks to fly and crisp sounds to ring out. However, it couldn't break through the flame shield array's defense. Xiangyang's attack couldn't break through the flame shield array's defense at all. Yixing didn't move at all. He only needed to maintain the array's defense. Even if Xiangyang attacked until he was exhausted, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Yixing. Chapter 505. Ding ding ding, ding 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 ding, Xiangyang's attack speed was very fast. Seeing that Yixing was only using the defensive array, he attacked with all his might. Unfortunately, no matter how ferocious his attack was, it was still ineffective against the level 3 defensive formation. After all, Xiangyang's attack power was not stronger than a venerable 7 stars. As for Yixing's flaming shield array, even a venerable 9-star would not be able to break it in a short time. Brother Chongkong. Xiangyang shouted loudly. He knew that he could not break Yixing's flaming shield array. Continuing to attack would be futile. However, he did not want to stop and become a laughing stock. Therefore, he asked Chongkong for help to break Yixing's array and defeat Yixing. The defensive power of a level 3 defensive array was indeed strong. However, it was not made up of array bases but array flags. The array flags were directly controlled by the array master. Therefore, when the array formed by the array flags was attacked, the array master would also be affected to a certain extent. Xiangyang did not believe that Yixing could withstand his and Chongkong's combined attack. Chongkong wasn't in a hurry to attack. Instead, he looked at Mo Tong and transmitted his voice. This brat has a defensive formation. Only if we attack together will we have a chance to break through his defensive formation. He has already provoked the 3 of us to join forces. If we don't take care of him this time, we will definitely lose face. Mo Tong's eyes narrowed. With his arrogance, he did not want to join forces with Chongkong and Xiangyang to deal with Yixing. However, Yixing had the flaming shield array. If he did not join forces with Chongkong and Xiangyang, he would not be able to break the array's defense alone. He would not be able to do anything to Yixing. Yixing had already declared that the three of them would attack together. If they couldn't do anything to Yixing and could only leave with their tails between their legs, how shameful would that be? Mo Tong's eyes flashed as he made a decision. He nodded at Enchanting. Fierce Blood Claw. Flying Eagle Spear Technique. In an instant, Mo Tong and Enchanting both attacked at the same time. They unleashed their supreme-grade spiritual martial force and attacked Yixing fiercely. The number 1, number 3, and number 5 geniuses of the 10 great prodigies joined forces to attack. The scene was spectacular, and the power of their attacks was terrifying. Even an 8-star venerable master would have to be wary of such a terrifying attack. However, Yixing only activated the Flame Shield Dipper Array flags, and the Flame Shield Dipper Array flag surrounded him, blocking all 3 attacks. Yixing's attainments in formations and Yixing's endurance exceeded the expectations of Mo Tong and the others. Under their joint attacks, Yixing's expression remained the same, as if he did not feel any pressure at all. Yixing's gaze swept around, landing on the other martial artists, and he said, "Is there still anyone interested in this Yi? All attack together. This Yi will settle it all in one go." All the martial artists retreated. What a joke. Even Mo Tong, Enchanting, and Xiangyang could not do anything to Yixing when they joined forces. Who else would dare to attack? Even Yi Wuyan was full of fear when he looked at Yixing. He recalled that before the genius selection, he had used the fire momentum to provoke Yixing. Yi Wuyan was a little nervous. Soon, a few breaths of time passed. Mo Tong and the others attacked quickly and fiercely. Explosions sounded continuously, but they could not break through the defense of the Flame Shield Dipper Array. Yixing smiled coldly and said, "It seems that no one else will attack. The performance of you 3 rascals is over." As he spoke, Yixing waved his hand, and a few more array flags appeared. Each array flag was engraved with patterns of flowers and trees. They were the array flags of the Greenwood Sword Array. The array flags scattered in all directions and instantly expanded, revealing a terrifying and dangerous aura. Swoosh! 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 The array flags shone brightly and countless Greenwood Sword Chi slashed out. They were densely packed and slashed towards Mo Tong and the others. These Greenwood Sword Chi could easily kill an 8-star venerable. Even a 9-star venerable would find it difficult to resist. The danger of the aura, the sharpness of the sword chi, and the power of the sword chi were extremely terrifying to Mo Tong and the others. Mo Tong, Enchanting, and Xiangyang all cried out in horror. Their faces changed and they did not dare to continue attacking. They quickly retreated. The 3 of them were as fast as lightning, but the Greenwood Sword Chi's attack was even faster. In the blink of an eye, the dense Greenwood Sword Chi had surrounded the 3 of them. The sharp aura was like a sharp blade cutting into their bodies, causing them to tremble. The densely packed Greenwood Sword Chi did not completely descend. Instead, it stopped around the 3 of them, remaining still in the void. Otherwise, the 3 of them would surely be sliced into pieces by the Greenwood Sword Chi. Although the Greenwood Sword Chi did not fall, under the sharp aura, the 3 of them were drenched in cold sweat and did not dare to move. In the distance, the martial artists watching the battle were also dumbfounded. They held their breaths and looked at the scene before them in shock. Yixing's voice rang out. "Don't think that you are strong. You so-called geniuses are just clay chickens and pottery dogs in my eyes. You cannot withstand a single blow. I can kill you with a raise of my hand." Mo Tong was drenched in cold sweat. He suppressed the fear in his heart and said, "Don't you dare touch a single hair on our heads. Once you leave the divine continent mystic realm, you will die without a grave." Yixing waved his hand and put away the greenwood sword formation and the fire shield dipper array flags. The sky full of greenwood sword chi dissipated. Yixing turned and did not look at Mo Tong and the others. He walked towards Wei Qingxian and said, "You are right. I don't dare. However, if someone thinks that his life is too long and wants to die, I don't mind sending him to the Yellow Springs." After saying this, Yixing had already walked to Wei Qingxian and said, "Zixuan, let's go." Wei Qingxian nodded. Supreme-grade flying spiritual treasures appeared behind the two of them at the same time. They soared into the sky and flew into the distance. Mo Tong, Ing Zhangkong, and Ing Xiangyang's faces were gloomy and incomparably ashen. Mo Tong slammed his palm on the ground, creating a huge crater with a loud bang. The three of them were all geniuses, but today, they had been called worthless by Yixing. They were like clay chickens and pottery dogs, unable to withstand a single blow. How could they take it? Their resentment was overflowing. But more than that, they felt ashamed. There were many martial artists in the distance who had seen their wretched state. This made them lose all face and their faces burn. With a cold snort, the three of them activated their supreme-grade flying spiritual treasures and soared into the sky, leaving this place. At this moment, they did not have the face to stay with the other martial artists. The remaining martial artists had different expressions and left one after another. The stargazing enlightenment platform had long sunk into the ground. There was nothing left here. Chapter 501, Some Changes. Yixing has devoured Shang Buchuan's destiny and evolved from a 9-star yellow fate to a 5-star green fate. 8 updates in 2 days. Begging for a monthly vote. Chapter 506. Smells so good. Yixing was roasting the tender meat of the crystal fire beast. Wei Qingxian smelled the aroma, and her appetite was whetted, her face filled with intoxication. Such a superb ingredient was hard to come by. Even the Black Biao King would fall in love with it. This was the first time Wei Qingxian had smelled such a delicious aroma. Yixing was already used to the aroma of the tender meat of the crystal fire beast. He was no longer amazed by the aroma, but his mouth was still watering, and his appetite was raring to go. Very quickly, the tender meat of the crystal fire beast was roasted by Yixing to a golden yellow color. Yixing and Wei Qingxian ate to their heart's content. The superb delicacies entered their stomachs, and the two of them were in a good mood. After finishing the tender meat of the crystal fire beast, Yixing asked, "Do you have any places to go next?" In the divine continent mystery realm, the extreme north has endless ice, and the extreme south has endless flames. I plan to make a trip to the extreme north to comprehend the ice force, Wei Qingxian said. There is such a place in the divine continent mystery realm. Yixing was surprised. He did not know much about the divine continent mystery realm. Wei Qingxian nodded. I see that you are using a fire-type martial art, and the force of heaven and earth you are using is also the force of fire. You should go to the extreme south. The flames there contain an extremely high force of fire. Yixing said, "All right, I will go to the extreme south." The two parted ways. One headed north, the other south. Yixing activated the wings of clear sky, and his speed was extremely fast. In a little more than a day, he had arrived at the extreme south of the divine continent mystery realm. What entered his eyes was a sea of fire. It was endless. Yixing looked into the distance. He could see more than 100 li, but he could not see the end of the sea of fire. What a strong fire aura. This seems to be the fire of the stars from beyond the heavens. Yixing mumbled as he felt the fire aura in front of him. Yixing was extremely sensitive to the presence of star flames. He had encountered them both in the falling star mystical ground and the Qingyun ancient land. The astral fire could be absorbed by the astral fire seed, and it could also increase one's comprehension of the force of fire. Yixing confirmed that the sea of fire in front of him was the astral fire seed, and an excited smile appeared on his face. In the Qingyun ancient land, Yixing had devoured the star fire from outer space. Not only did it greatly increase the level of his star fire seed, but it also increased the power of his fire celestial aspect to the limit of a high-grade celestial aspect. If he took another step forward, wouldn't his flame astrology have a qualitative breakthrough and become an extreme grade astrology? The power of an extreme grade astral form was far superior to that of a superior grade astral form. If the flame astral form was upgraded, it would greatly increase Yixing's strength. Whoosh! Yixing rushed into the sea of fire in front of him. Using the force of fire, Yixing's body burned with a translucent flame of nothingness, preventing Yixing from being harmed by the flames. Yixing walked through the sea of fire for more than 100 miles before he stopped and sat on the ground. This sea of fire was enough to burn any martial artist below the honorable realm to death. Even an honorable realm martial artist would find it difficult to withstand. However, Yixing's comprehension of the force of fire was too high. It was close to the great accomplishment stage. Ordinary honorable realm martial artists would not be able to reach this level. Therefore, Yixing could use the force of fire to defend himself against the flames in the sea of fire. Black hole astral form. Astral fire seed. Yixing used both methods at the same time. He activated the black hole astral form to absorb the power of the flames, and at the same time, he also activated the astral fire seed to absorb the power of the flames and increase the grade of the astral fire seed. Yixing's black hole astral vortex also spun rapidly, producing a devouring force that increased the speed at which the astral fire seed absorbed the power of the flames. In the depths of the sea of fire, the flames revolved around Yixing like a tornado. The flames in all directions were affected by the black hole astral form and the astral fire seed. They gathered with Yixing as the center. Every moment, there was a huge amount of power of the flames being devoured and absorbed by Yixing. The sea of fire in the divine continent mystery realm stretched for hundreds of miles. However, under Yixing's devouring and absorption, the edges of the sea of fire were gradually shrinking. It was clear that its volume was decreasing. In the space between Yixing's eyebrows, the flame astral form was extremely small compared to the black hole astral form and the Sagittarius constellation. It was located at the edge of the space between his eyebrows. However, as the black hole astral form continued to devour the power of the flames, the aura of Yixing's flame astral form was gradually increasing. At the same time, its volume was also increasing. It was slowly moving towards the center of the space between his eyebrows. Finally, at a certain point, when the flame astral form had increased to the size of a fist, it suddenly moved a huge distance towards the center. Its aura also increased tremendously. The flame astral form had been raised to the pinnacle level, and its power had increased tremendously. However, the pinnacle-level flame astral form still could not be compared to the pinnacle-level black hole astral form and the Sagittarius constellation. However, its position was at least much stronger than the pinnacle-level flame astral form. It was no longer at the edge of the space between his eyebrows. When the flame astral form was raised to the pinnacle level, the speed at which the black hole astral form devoured the power of the flames did not decrease. It continued to absorb the essence of the flames and strengthen the flame astral form. The pinnacle level astral form was still far from the pinnacle level of the astral form. There was still a lot of room for improvement. After absorbing the power of the flames, the star fire seed in the Dantian star vortex was gradually growing bigger. Its quality was slowly increasing, and the intensity of the flames it contained was getting higher and higher. Time passed day by day. After 3 days, Yixing stopped the black hole astral form's devouring. His flame astral form had already been consolidated to the extreme. The quality of the flames here could no longer strengthen it. The Starfire seed had obviously absorbed more power of the flames than the flame astral form. After 3 days, it was still continuously absorbing. On the 5th day, Yixing sensed a horrifying aura erupting from the star vortex in his dantian. The Starfire seed had shown a qualitative improvement, and contained an appalling power of the flames. Yixing activated the Starfire seed, and a wisp of flame spread out. Yixing scanned the power of this wisp of flame, and found that it was not inferior to the flames in the sea of flames outside his body. The flames in the sea of flames could burn any warrior below the venerable realm to death. Moreover, even ordinary venerables would not be able to withstand it. From this, it could be seen that the grade of the Starfire seed had reached. If it had to be ranked, it should be comparable to astral reaching realm venerables. The intensity of the flames it contained had almost reached the level of killing venerables. After the qualitative improvement of the Starfire seed, Yixing felt that if he continued to absorb the power of the flames, the growth of the Starfire seed had already slowed down. It seemed that the intensity of the flames here could only make the Starfire seed's power reach the level of ordinary venerables. Yixing continued to absorb for a few more days. When the quality of the Starfire seed had reached the limit and could no longer be improved, Yixing stopped. At this time, the sea of flames in a radius of several hundred li had shrunk by a large circle. The flame astral form had reached the pinnacle level. The Starfire seed had a qualitative breakthrough, and its power was comparable to that of ordinary venerables. Moreover, Yixing's comprehension of the grand momentum of fire had also increased. He had broken through the limits of the minute's subtlety realm, and reached the level of unity of man and nature. Chapter 507. The Divine Continent Mystic Realm would only open for a month. Once the time was up, all the martial artists in the Mystic Realm would be attracted by a force and transported out of the Mystic Realm. A total of 1,590 martial artists of the younger generation had entered the Mystic Realm. However, the number of martial artists of the younger generation that came out was much smaller. There were only about 1,200 of them left. More than 300 martial artists of the younger generation had perished in the Mystic Realm. These martial artists of the younger generation were the elites of their respective domains, the geniuses of the Golden Age. Many of the younger geniuses of certain domains had perished, which was a huge loss. Among them, the ancient Shang region had suffered the greatest loss. Among the younger geniuses of the ancient Shang Empire, the top 3, Shang Buchuan, Shang Zihen, and Shang Yualan, had all perished in the Mystic Realm and never returned. Who is it? Who killed the younger geniuses of my ancient Shang Empire? Shang Yuanji, the emperor of the ancient Shang Empire, clenched his fists and roared in his heart. The eyes of the honorable Shang Yuanji flashed across some of the younger geniuses. He was certain that if there was a murderer, it had to be one of them. However, he could not be sure who it was. The martial artists of the younger generation returned to their respective places. On the highest floor of the pavilion, Meng Yuanxing quickly received information about the martial artist with the surname Yi. Yi Tianhe had fled the crowd after entering the Mystic Realm. Ying Xiangyang had chased after him to no avail. When he came out of the Mystic Realm, his cultivation had already reached the 5th level of the Star Dipper realm. Based on his ability to challenge those of a higher level, his strength was already at the elite level. Yixing had entered the Mystic Realm and defeated the eliminated elite, Bei Gong Yidao. After that, he had defeated the 6th elite, Wu Yuanjing, on the Stargazing Dao observation platform. After comprehending the Dao through stargazing, he had defeated Mo Tong, Ying Chongkong, and Ying Xiangyang, who were ranked 1st, 3rd, and 5th, respectively, with his greater mastery of a level 3 array. The performances of Yixing and Yi Tianhe were the most suspicious of Meng Yuanxing. Meng Yuanxing pondered for a while before instructing, "Bring Yixing and Yi Tianhe to see me." Honorable Mo Jian accepted the order and left. Yi Tianhe was the first to be brought to the highest floor of the pavilion. Facing the supremacies, venerables, and even monarch Meng Yuanqing, Yi Tianhe was very nervous. He could sense that the auras of these people were terrifyingly powerful. Meng Yuanqing opened his third eye and sized up Yi Tianhe. You were born in a low-grade empire and are already a 5-star venerable at the age of 20. You have the combat power of a 7-star venerable, far surpassing the younger generation of a high-grade empire. Why? Yi Tianhe did not know the identity of Meng Yuanqing, but he knew that the person sitting on the main seat must have a high status. Yi Tianhe took a deep breath and said, because I had some fortuitous encounters. Meng Yuanqing's tone was unquestionable. Speak. Everyone's fate and fortune were their own secrets. However, Yi Tianhe could not keep his own secret. Being born in the royal family of a lower-rank empire was a noble identity compared to the cultivators of the lower-rank empire. However, it was nothing compared to the experts on the highest floor of the pavilion. Yi Tianhe did not dare not answer Meng Yuanqing's question. Yi Tianhe said, "When I was 17 years old, I had a fortuitous encounter in an ancient relic. I obtained the inheritance of a venerable one and a fruit as red as blood. After eating the fruit, my talent changed, and I was able to achieve twice the result with half the effort no matter what martial arts I practiced. Moreover, my cultivation was smooth sailing, and success came naturally when the conditions were right. A blood-red fruit that could change a martialist's talent." Meng Yuanqing, the supremacies, and the other supremacies were all astonished. This was a legendary treasure. The legendary destiny fruit could change a martialist's destiny. However, this was only a legend. It was a treasure that could only be encountered by chance. Meng Yuanqing asked, "Did your destiny change?" Yi Tianhe said, "My destiny was originally a 6-star yellow destiny. After eating that blood-red fruit, it became a 9-star green destiny. A 9-star green destiny meant that one could become a 9-star supremacy or even a half-step monarch as long as there was a cultivation technique inheritance. It was the highest destiny below the monarch destiny." Meng Yuanqing did not care much about a 9-star green destiny, but the supremacies and venerables present were all shocked. Among them, the highest destiny was only a 7-star green destiny, which was far from a 9-star green destiny. Meng Yuanqing frowned and said, "Hand over your storage ring." Yi Tianhe's expression changed. "This. Sir." Meng Yuanqing's expression froze. "Why? Do you dare refuse?" A terrifying aura suddenly enveloped Yi Tianhe, causing him to break out in cold sweat. "I dare not. I dare not," Yi Tianhe hurriedly said as he handed over his storage ring. Meng Yuanqing grabbed Yi Tianhe's storage ring and used his mind power to check the storage ring one by one. After a short while, Meng Yuanqing threw the storage ring back and said, "You have obtained a lot of good things. However, they are still not up to my standards." Meng Yuanqing waved his hand and dismissed Yi Tianhe. After Yi Tianhe left, Yi Xing was brought to the highest floor of the pavilion by Mo Jian. Just like when he had interrogated Yi Tianhe, Meng Yuanqing first opened his third eye and carefully observed Yi Xing. Yi Xing was shocked. He felt as though Meng Yuanqing's gaze could see through his body. It was extremely terrifying. Fire seed. Meng Yuanqing's expression suddenly changed and he made a grabbing motion. The star fire seed in Yi Xing's Dantian star vortex was instantly attracted by a terrifying force and flew out, landing in Meng Yuanqing's hand. Yi Xing was furious. Meng Yuanqing had snatched away his fire seed without asking any questions. This was his greatest treasure. However, even though he was angry, Yi Xing was helpless. Meng Yuanqing was so young, but his status was higher than Mo Jian's. Yi Xing could easily guess his origin. He was definitely someone from the Great Yuan dynasty or even the Meng clan. The star fire seed could burn an ordinary supremacy to death. This was one of Yi Xing's trump cards. If it was a close combat battle, he could directly hug a supremacy and use the defense of his Scarlet Flame set to ignite the Starfire Seed to burn a supremacy to death. Such a terrifying Starfire Seed was like a toy in Meng Yuanqing's hands. It couldn't hurt him at all. Meng Yuanqing clenched his fist and grabbed the Starfire Seed. In an instant, Yixing lost his connection with the Starfire Seed. Meng Yuanqing said, "You are not qualified to possess a treasure like the Starfire Seed. It will definitely bring you a fatal disaster if you keep it. I will keep it for you first." After saying that, Meng Yuanqing stared at Yixing intently. "Why? Are you not happy that I am keeping it for you?" Chapter 508. Yixing's heart skipped a beat when he heard Meng Yuanqing refer to himself as a monarch. Although he knew that this young man had an extraordinary background, he had not expected him to be a monarch. However, regardless of who Meng Yuanqing was, his cultivation base, and his status, Yixing was naturally unhappy that he had snatched his Starfire Seed. However, Yixing did not have the qualifications to compete with Meng Yuanqing at this moment. Even if he was unhappy, he could only endure it. Yixing said, "I would be happy if a monarch is willing to keep it for me." The corners of Meng Yuanqing's mouth curled into a mocking smile as he kept the Starfire Seed in his body. "Yixing, you are a junior from the lower region and come from the most ordinary martial arts family. You are not even 20 years old. Yet you have already reached the 5th level of the Star Dipper realm, the combat strength of a 7-star Venerable, and you have also become a level 3 Array Grandmaster. Why? What opportunities did you encounter? Tell me in detail so that I can answer your questions." Yixing suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "My heavenly fate is uncertain. I was very ordinary before the age of 16. However, when I was 16, my bloodline awakened and I was met by a traveling Venerable. That Venerable taught me and led me on the path of martial arts. However, that Venerable was very elusive and would only occasionally come to meet me and teach me. The rest of the time, I struggled." After that, Yixing recounted most of his experiences in detail. Yixing's real secret was his super brain, the Sagittarius constellation, and the Black Hole constellation. Of course, he did not mention a word about these things. Yixing spoke about the Starfire Seed he had obtained in the Fallen Star Secret Realm, the Array Formation inheritance of Venerable Qing Yun in the Qingyun Ancient Land, and the treasure of Venerable Qi Yan in the Sky Corpse mountain range. In particular, there was a perfect explanation for Yixing's high cultivation base. It was because he had obtained a large number of corpse jades in Venerable Qi Yan's burial ground. Furthermore, he had refined the death aura and the corpse jades through the Starfire Seed, allowing him to constantly absorb corpse jades to improve his cultivation base. After listening to Yixing's account, Meng Yuanqing tapped his fingers on the armrest next to his chair and stared at Yixing silently. It was not difficult to sense the hidden killing intent in Meng Yuanqing's eyes. After listening to Yixing's experiences, Meng Yuanqing realized that he was even more mysterious than Yi Tianhe. After all, Yi Tianhe had already become a star 3 years ago, while Yixing had been a Star Dipper. Meng Yuanqing was very suspicious of Yixing but couldn't be sure. Be or not? Meng Yuanqing thought to himself. Yixing's super brain was very powerful. Although he was nervous, his expression remained calm. Since He Biao had allowed him to participate in the genius selection, he believed that He Biao would not die there. Indeed, He Biao was watching from somewhere. He had already determined that Yixing was the demon star of troubled times and was a key figure in overthrowing the Great Yuan dynasty. Of course, he would not let Yixing die. If Meng Yuanqing dared to make a move, Yixing's identity as the demon star of troubled times would be exposed. Then, He Biao would draw his sword against the Great Yuan dynasty and kill Meng Yuanqing, the crown prince of the Great Yuan dynasty. After a while, Meng Yuanqing asked, "Who is the venerate who nurtured you?" Yixing replied, it's Venerable Qinyu of the Qingyu Empire. Meng Yuanqing instructed Mo Jian, bring this person over. Very soon, the emperor of the Qingyu Empire, Yu Qinyue, was brought to the highest floor of the pavilion by Mo Jian. Venerable Qinyu and Yi Xing had already exchanged statements. When Meng Yuanqing questioned them, both of their answers were flawless. This eased Meng Yuanqing's suspicions a little. Forget it. State Preceptor Sikong said that the demon star of troubled times this time could really shake the foundation of our dynasty. It doesn't matter if we kill the wrong person, but if the real demon star of troubled times is alerted and escapes this calamity, the gains would not make up for the losses. Anyway, as long as the demon star of troubled times attends the third genius selection, his identity will definitely be exposed. When the time comes, we can kill him to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Meng Yuanqing thought to himself as he waved Yi Xing and Venerable Qinyu away. Yi Xing. Mo Jian called out to Yi Xing before turning to Meng Yuanqing. Yuan Sage Monarch, Yi Xing has outstanding talent and is already a level 3 array grandmaster at such a young age. Can I recommend him to the Shuefeng Empire for grooming? The great Yuan dynasty's search for the demon star of troubled times had not been announced to the world. The Dark Star sect only knew about this because they had channels of information and experts who were proficient in divination techniques. Therefore, logically speaking, besides the great Yuan dynasty, the other factions should not know about the search for the demon star of troubled times. Therefore, even though Meng Yuanqing had called Yi Xing and Yi Tianhe over for questioning, the martialists of the Shuefeng Empire, the Black Crow Emperor, and the Sky Eagle Empire did not know about Meng Yuanqing's intentions. It was reasonable for Mo Jian to recommend Yi Xing to the Shuefeng Empire for grooming after seeing his outstanding talent. However, Yi Xing knew very well that the Dark Star sect had arranged for Wei Qingxian to stay in the Shuefeng Empire. The Shuefeng Empire and the Dark Star sect probably had a very deep relationship. Therefore, as a core member of the upper echelons of the Shuefeng Empire, Mo Jian should know a lot of things. Even though he wanted to recommend Luo Yunyang to the Shuefeng Empire in front of Meng Yuanqing, it might seem like he thought highly of Luo Yunyang's talent, but there was probably another reason behind it. The reason he did this in front of Meng Yuanqing was to avoid arousing suspicion. After all, Meng Yuanqing had investigated Yi Xing and obtained Yi Xing's Starfire seed. If Mo Jian recommended Yi Xing to the Shuefeng Empire behind Meng Yuanqing's back, Meng Yuanqing might not be happy about it. Meng Yuanqing nodded. Mo Jian looked at Yi Xing and said, Yi Xing, are you willing to study in the Shuefeng Empire's capital college? Wei Qingxian was studying in the capital college of the Shuefeng Empire. Mo Jian's invitation was most likely He Biao's idea. Therefore, Yi Xing naturally wouldn't refuse. I'm willing. Mo Jian smiled and waved his hand. You may leave first. Follow the younger generation of the Shuefeng Empire and return to the Shuefeng Empire. After leaving the pavilion, Venerable Qinyu and Yi Xing heaved sighs of relief. Since Meng Yuanqing had asked so many questions and had even called Venerable Qinyu over, it was clear that he was very suspicious of Yi Xing. Although Yi Xing was relieved, his anger didn't die down. Even a monarch would covet the Starfire seed. It's obviously a priceless treasure, yet he snatched it away for no reason. Humph. Today, you are a monarch, while I am merely a 5-star venerable. You snatched my treasure, and I was powerless to resist. However, one day, I will reach the peak of the martial path and the star continent. Even a monarch will be beneath my feet and the great Yuan dynasty will be overthrown. What belongs to me will eventually belong to me, and you will pay the price with your life. Monthly votes are too pitiful. I beg for monthly votes in tears. Chapter 509. Yi Xing was actually going to study in the Blood Edge Empire's Royal College instead of returning with the True Xian Domain martial artists. This shocked the True Xian Domain martial artists. However, considering Yi Xing's performance in the Genius Trials, it was normal for Yi Xing to be favored by the experts of the Blood Edge Empire. The Blood Edge Empire was an upper-rank empire and one of the 3 strongest powers in the East Divine Continent. They had a mystic-class upper-middle-class cultivation technique inheritance. Yi Xing wasn't a member of the royal family of the Blood Edge Empire, so he couldn't learn the highest level of cultivation technique inheritance. However, given the conditions of the Blood Edge Empire, a mystic-class lower-class cultivation technique inheritance could be cultivated to the peak and become a 6-star Reverend. A 6-star Venerable was an overlord-level existence even in a middle-rank empire. As for the true Xian domain, the 2 strongest powers in the upper 10 regions were only low-rank empires and the strongest was a 3-star Reverend. Thinking about Yi Xing's future, the true Xian domain martial artists were all envious. The Genius Trials had ended a month ago. Now, the younger generation had all left the Divine Continent's secret realm and returned to their own regions. The true Xian domain's martial artists embarked on their return journey. Yi Xing, on the other hand, arrived at the Blood Edge Empire's Wuda's location. Yi Xing was also a celebrity in the Genius Trials. No matter if it was the Blood Edge Empire's younger generation or elders, they all knew who he was. Yi Xing was actually recommended by Reverend Mo Jian to study in the Royal College. This surprised many of the younger generation in the Blood Edge Empire. The Blood Edge Empire's Royal College had never had a student from the lower regions. Even students from low-rank empires were rarely seen. Wei Qingxian was from the lower regions, but her identity in the Blood Edge Empire's Royal College was Zi Xian, a descendant of the Zi clan. Yi Xing's gaze met with Wei Qingxuan's among the younger generation of the Blood Edge Empire martial artists. The 2 of them smiled knowingly. Wei Qingxian was one of the prettiest girls in the Shuefeng Empire Academy. She and Mo Mingwei were known as the 2 beauties of the academy. They were the dream lovers of countless students. However, everyone knew that the number 1 genius of the academy, Mo Tong, was interested in Wei Qingxian and had been pursuing Wei Qingxian. Mo Tong was a core disciple of the royal family. He had a noble status and was also the number 1 genius. Naturally, no students dared to compete with Mo Tong. Although they liked Wei Qingxian very much, they kept a respectful distance from her. At that moment, Wei Qingxian and Yi Xing looked at each other and smiled. Their smiles were filled with affection. This caused the younger generation of the Shuefeng Empire to feel extremely displeased. If Wei Qingxian was with Mo Tong, they would accept it wholeheartedly. But if she was with an outsider like Yi Xing, they would not accept it. In the Blood Edge Empire, talented juniors would enter the Blood Edge Empire's Imperial College to study. Therefore, all the juniors present were from the Blood Edge Empire's Imperial College. In the Blood Edge Empire, there were a total of 40 people participating in the Genius Selection Competition. Among them, more than 2/3 were males. Among them, 2/3 were unhappy with Yi Xing because of Wei Qingxian. According to the total number of people, more than half of the younger martial practitioners didn't like Yi Xing. Among them, Mo Tong was the most unhappy. He had a deep hatred for Yi Xing in his heart. In the Divine Continent Mystery Dimension, you were just using the array to show off. Humph. Let's see how arrogant you can be in the Blood Edge Empire. I will fight you fair and square and trample you under my feet. I will let you know who the true number 1 genius is. Mo Tong thought to himself viciously. With his influence in the Blood Edge Empire, forcing Yi Xing to fight with him wasn't a problem at all. Furthermore, if the 2 of them were to fight on the stage, it would be a competition of strength, not the might of formations. The use of formations was definitely prohibited. In this way, Mo Tong believed that he could defeat Yi Xing and regain his lost face. At that time, he would humiliate Yi Xing in front of all the students of the empire. He would return the humiliation that Yi Xing had given him tenfold. Under the leadership of Honorable Mo Jian, more than 100 juniors and seniors of the Blood Edge Empire boarded a ship and returned to the Blood Edge Empire. This ship was huge and could accommodate more than 1,000 people. With more than 100 people on board, it seemed very spacious. The ship flew in the sky and broke through the wind. It was extremely fast, much faster than supreme-grade flying spiritual treasures. This ship was a large flying Xian treasure, and its grade was as high as Xian middle grade. The ship traveled dozens of miles in a breath's time. The practitioners were very stable in the ship. At this speed, they could cover 2 to 3 million miles in a day. While the ship was flying, Mo Tong stopped in front of Yixing and shouted, "Yixing." Yixing was chatting with Wei Qingxian and was in a good mood. He glanced at Mo Tong indifferently and asked, "What is it?" Mo Tong glared fiercely at Yixing and bellowed, "When we get to the Capital Institute, do you dare to be a man and fight me in the combat arena?" Yixing's lips curled. "Are you asking for a beating?" Mo Tong's face immediately turned green. Yixing's words had rubbed salt into his wound and infuriated him. Mo Tong shouted, "What kind of martial expert are you to bully others with your matrices? If you have the ability, don't use your matrices. Fight me with real swords and spears. I, Mo Tong, will let you know what a real expert is." Yixing only smiled and did not reply. In the Divine Continent Mystery Dimension, Yixing had used his matrices to defeat Mo Tong, Enchanting, and Xiangyang because he did not want to be in the limelight. This did not mean that Yixing was weak. Yixing did not think much of Mo Tong's ability. Yixing had no interest in fighting him in the arena. However, Yixing's silence was seen as cowardice and fear in Mo Tong's eyes. This made Mo Tong inexplicably excited. He sneered, "Yixing, all the junior brothers and sisters are watching. Are you such a coward? You don't even have the courage to fight me in the arena." Mo Tong laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha. If you don't dare, fine. Say that you are a coward 3 times in front of everyone and I will let you off." Mo Yang, who was at the side, jeered, "Senior brother Mo Tong, how would he dare to go up the arena with you? Isn't that just looking for a beating? I think he will definitely choose to be a coward." Everyone quiet down and listen to how Yixing calls himself a coward, hee. Yixing shook his head and sighed. His disdainful gaze gradually shone and locked onto Mo Tong's eyes. He said, "Since you are asking for a beating, I will fulfill your wish." "What time?" "Say it." Mo Tong was overjoyed that Yixing had accepted the challenge. In his opinion, there were not many people here. Even if Yixing shouted, "I am a coward," 3 times, it would not be enough to vent his anger. Only when he could trample Yixing under his feet in front of all the students of the Blood Edge Imperial College would he be truly satisfied. Mo Tong grinned. "Ha, great. Since you are new to the Capital Institute, I will give you some time to familiarize yourself with the environment. In 10 days, at noon, we will meet in the arena." The reason why he had given Yixing 10 days was not to let Yixing familiarize himself with the environment, but to spread the news. Mo Tong wanted every student in the Capital Institute to see with their own eyes how he was going to beat Yixing up. The 4th watch has ended. The monthly votes are dismal. This does not make sense. The bitterness of staying up late to write, the bitterness of begging for monthly votes. Chapter 5:10. In less than a day, the ship arrived at Imperial Edge City from the Divine Continent Mountain at the border of the Bloody Edge Empire. The Blood Edge Empire College was located in the center of Imperial Edge City, next to the palace. The ship landed on the college's square. As a student recommended by Mo Jian, Yixing was valued by the college's higher-ups. He was given a place to stay the moment he arrived at the college. In sects, there were outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples, and core disciples. In academies, there were also ordinary students, elite students, and core students. Students below the perfected person level were ordinary students. 1-star to 6-star perfected persons were elite students. Students above the 7th stage of the astral star realm were core disciples. The division of cultivation wasn't absolute. Some geniuses with great potential could break through the division of cultivation. Before becoming a perfected person, they could become an elite student with the same combat power as a perfected person. Before becoming a 7-star venerable person, they could become a core disciple with the same combat power as a 7-star venerable person. Even those with great potential, such as 6-star green fate realm and above, could become a core disciple the moment they entered the college. For example, Wei Qingxian was only a martial sage when she entered the Blood Edge Empire College. Technically, she was an ordinary student. However, she was a 9-star green fate realm student, so she became a core disciple immediately. Yi Xing had the same combat power as a 7-star venerable person, so he was also a core disciple immediately. There were many ordinary and elite students, but only 100 or so core disciples. This was because students would graduate when they reached the age of 35 or become a venerable person. There were few core disciples, but they were treated well. Every core disciple had their own pavilion. There were a total of 30 peaks that belonged to the core disciples. Each peak had 10 pavilions. Yi Xing was assigned to the 7th peak and the 7th pavilion. Wei Qingxian was assigned to the 8th pavilion of the 7th peak. Their residences weren't far from each other, so they were considered neighbors. Yi Xing, are you okay with the duel in 10 days? Wei Qingxian asked worriedly outside the 7th pavilion of the 7th peak. Mo Tong was the first of the top 10 prodigies and the top junior in the entire East Divine Continent. Although his title was a little exaggerated, he was still very powerful. Even the top venerable 7 stars might not be able to defeat Mo Tong. If it was Wei Qingxian, she had full confidence that she could defeat Mo Tong. Wei Qingxian knew that Yi Xing's ability to challenge those of a higher level was not inferior to hers. However, Yi Xing's cultivation was 1 level lower than hers. He was only a 5 stars enlightened master. Yi Xing revealed a faint smile. His eyes were full of confidence. Defeating him is more than enough. Wei Qingxuan's lips also curled into a smile. It seems that I was worried about you for nothing. As she spoke, Wei Qingxian took out a small booklet and handed it to Yi Xing. She said, "You're new to the Shuefeng Empire Academy, so there are many things you don't know. Here's an introduction to the academy. Take a look." All right. Yi Xing took the booklet. He was indeed unfamiliar with the Shuefeng Empire Academy. Wei Qingxian returned to her residence. Yi Xing entered the 7th pavilion and started reading the booklet. The Shuefeng Empire Academy was established by the first emperor of the Shuefeng Empire. It had a history of more than 7,000 years. All along, the academy had nurtured the most outstanding geniuses of the Shuefeng Empire. Since the first emperor, 99% of the emperors and supremacies of the Shuefeng Empire had studied in the academy. There were a few more important places in the academy. They were the Weapon Repository, Shuefeng Hall, Mission Hall, and Cultivation Tower. The Weapon Repository was where the academy stored its weapons. The worst weapons were low-grade spiritual weapons. There were mid-grade, upper-grade, and supreme-grade spiritual weapons. It even had dark weapons. The weapons in the Weapon Repository could be exchanged with merit points. A low-grade spiritual weapon cost 100 merit points, a mid-grade spiritual weapon cost 500 merit points, an upper-grade spiritual weapon cost 2,000 merit points, and a supreme-grade spiritual weapon cost 10,000 merit points. Contribution points could be earned through completing missions, ranking in the top few in the academy tournament, raising one's status, and so on. For example, Yi Xing, who became a core student, received a reward of 5,000 contribution points. The Shui Feng Hall was where the academy stored its cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. They ranged from low-grade spiritual level to upper-grade spiritual level. There were even dark-level cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Similarly, the martial arts techniques in the Shui Feng Hall also required merit points. The points required to exchange for cultivation methods and martial arts techniques were the same as the points required to exchange for weapons. The points required to exchange for martial arts techniques were halved. In other words, 10,000 merit points were required to exchange for a supreme-grade spiritual level cultivation method, but only 5,000 merit points were required to exchange for a supreme-grade spiritual level martial arts technique. Yixing's merit points were enough to exchange for a supreme-grade spiritual level martial arts technique. The mission hall, as the name suggested, was the place where the academy issued missions. Similar to the sect missions, there were all sorts of missions. The most important way for students to earn merit points was to complete the academy's missions. The Cultivation Pagoda was a cultivation paradise. Below the Capital Institute was a huge stellar spirit meridian. The Cultivation Pagoda was built on top of the stellar spirit meridian. A level 4 spirit gathering array had been set up by a level 4 array grandmaster, which continuously drew up the stellar spirit chi from underground. Cultivating in the Cultivation Pagoda was much faster than cultivating in other places. There were a total of 9 floors in the Cultivation Pagoda. Among them, the 1st to 6th floors each had 100 cultivation rooms. From the 7th floor onward, the number of cultivation rooms was reduced to 50, the 8th floor only had 10, and the 9th floor only had 2. Cultivating on the first level, because of the abundance of star energy, a martial artist's speed of absorbing star energy was 20% faster. Every time they advanced to a higher level, the speed of absorbing star energy would increase by 20%. If they were to cultivate on the 9th floor, the speed would increase by almost 2 times. This was an extremely frightening speed and would save a lot of time. For example, it would take 3 years to break through to a certain realm. However, if they were to cultivate on the 9th floor of the Cultivation Pagoda, they would only need a little more than a year. For martial artists in their prime, time was their potential. The faster they broke through, the more time they would have to continue on the path of martial arts. Yixing closed the booklet with excitement in his eyes. I already have the dragon blood spear, but I'm still missing a pair of gloves. As for the supreme-grade spiritual weapons, there's still one that I don't know. My cultivation speed is already fast. If I were to cultivate in the Cultivation Pagoda, my cultivation speed would be even faster. Cultivating in the Shui Feng Kingdom Academy is indeed more than 10 times better than cultivating in a small place like the True Xian Domain. After I've dealt with Mo Tong, I'll go back to the True Xian Domain and secretly move the Ya family and the Falling Star sect away. Then, I'll be able to cultivate in peace here. Sigh. The monthly votes are so heartbreaking. The more I explode, the more I fall behind. My passion for writing is all gone. I'm crying. Chapter 5:11. With 5,000 merit points in hand, Yixing was ready to go to the weapon repository to exchange for a supreme-grade spiritual martial art. His upper-grade spiritual martial art had reached the transformation realm, and its power had reached the limit. Although it was enough for now, as his cultivation increased, his advantage in challenging those of a higher level would gradually disappear if he did not cultivate a supreme-grade spiritual martial art. Only by cultivating his supreme-grade spiritual martial art to the completion realm, or even the transformation realm, could Yixing maintain his advantage in martial arts. On the morning of the second day at the Blood Edge Academy, Yixing planned to go to the weapon repository. However, someone from the 7th Peak and 7th Pavilion came and disrupted his plan. It was Reverend Mo Jian. Yixing already knew that Reverend Mo Jian was also the Dean of the Blood Edge Academy. As the backbone of the Blood Edge Empire, the importance of the Blood Edge Academy was obvious. The dean's position in the Blood Edge Empire was probably second only to the emperor. Reverend Mo Jian. Yixing was surprised that Reverend Mo Jian would come to find him. "Come with me," Reverend Mo Jian said after seeing Yixing and flew into the sky. Yixing flapped his flaming wings and followed immediately. Yixing followed behind Reverend Mo Jian and flew in the Blood Edge Academy. The place where he stayed was the core student area, and many core students saw this scene. "It's the new core student, Yixing. Why would the dean go to find him personally? How strange. He was recommended by the dean. Looks like the dean has a whole new level of respect for him. He's not even 20 years old, but he's already a 5-star true master and has the battle strength of a 7-star venerable. This person's talent is indeed monstrous. It's reasonable that the dean thinks highly of him. He does have the potential, but he is a little too arrogant. I heard that he made use of a spirit designed to humiliate Mo Tong in the Divine Continent Mystery Domain. Mo Tong has made an agreement with him to have a showdown at the battle arena in 10 days. Oh, today should be 9 days later. At that time, he will definitely be thrashed badly by Mo Tong." Reverend Mo Jian brought Yixing deeper and deeper into the academy. At first, he could still see other students, but slowly, the surroundings gradually quieted down, and there was no one else in sight. The Blood Edge Academy occupied an extremely large area. In the depths of the academy, there were lofty mountains and precipitous ridges that stretched on endlessly. "Where is revered Mo Jian taking me?" Yixing was surprised. Up ahead, a huge palace appeared in Yixing's vision. This palace was located between two valleys. If one wasn't close enough, it would be extremely difficult to discover it. The direction that Venerable Mo Jian and Yixing were flying towards was precisely this hall. Entering the main hall, Yixing's eyes lit up. He immediately saw an acquaintance, He Biao. The He Biao in front of him was not as wild as it was in the Azure Cloud Mountain range. It was wearing clothes on its upper body, but its black hair was still draped over its shoulders. It still had a sense of wildness. My guess was right. Reverend Mo Jian is someone from the Dark Star sect. Yixing thought. "Sir Emissary, I've brought Yixing." Reverend Mo Jian bowed slightly to the Black Tiger King and said. The Black Tiger King nodded and said, "You may leave." After Reverend Mo Jian left the hall, Yixing quickly walked over to the Black Tiger King and said, "Brother Black Tiger." The Black Tiger King nodded at Yixing and said, "I told you not to show off too much during the second genius selection. You are really. That brat Meng Yuanqing must have already paid attention to you." Yixing said, "If I deliberately hide my strength too obviously, I'm afraid that it will be even more suspicious. Either I don't participate in the genius selection, or I'll definitely attract attention if I do. This is something that can't be helped." The Black Tiger King grinned and said, "That's true. Anyway, the Great Yuan dynasty can't confirm that you are the demon star of troubled times. No matter how they guess, they will wait until you participate in the third genius selection before making a move. At that time, it doesn't matter if they are 100% certain. Furthermore, even if they make a move on you in advance, it will be futile with me around. Hee hee. If that brat Meng Yuanqing couldn't control his killing intent and made a move on you yesterday, I would have killed him. I would have used his fresh blood as a sacrifice to fight against the Great Yuan dynasty. Even if you don't participate in the destiny rankings or enter the extraterritorial star continent, since you are the demon star of troubled times, there should still be hope for you to overthrow the Great Yuan dynasty if you grow up under the protection of the Dark Star Church." Yixing was surprised. He didn't know that the Black Tiger King had been secretly guarding him yesterday. Now it seemed that the person who had walked through the gates of hell wasn't Yixing, but the Meng Yuanqing. The Black Tiger King now had the strength to contend with the great Meng monarch. The reason he didn't openly go against the Great Yuan dynasty was because of Yixing, the demon star of troubled times. The Black Tiger King wanted to wait for Yixing to grow up before going against the Great Yuan dynasty. However, if Yixing's identity couldn't be protected, the Black Tiger King could only draw his sword against the Great Yuan dynasty. The crown prince of the Great Yuan dynasty, Meng Yuanqing, had a special status. If the Black Tiger King took the lead and killed Meng Yuanqing, it would definitely cause a sensation. Of course, this would definitely cause the Great Yuan dynasty to retaliate crazily. However, no matter what, if the Meng Yuanqing had dared to make a move on Yixing yesterday, he would have died. The Black Tiger King patted Yixing on the shoulder and said, participating in the destiny rankings, fighting for the Star Continent's providence, and going to the extraterritorial Star Continent to gain experience will be very beneficial to your growth. Since the Great Yuan dynasty hasn't made a move on you, I won't openly go against them. Everything will develop as per normal. Since you are the demon star of troubled times, I believe that as long as you participate in the destiny rankings, you will definitely be able to seize the Star Continent's providence. In the past, the Star Continent's providence belonged to the martialists of the Great Yuan dynasty. If you seize the Star Continent's providence, you will also be seizing the Great Yuan dynasty's providence. Yixing's eyes flashed, revealing a brilliant light. If he could participate in the destiny rankings, then he would definitely seize the Great Yuan dynasty's providence. Yixing nodded to the Black Tiger King and asked, Brother Black Tiger, why did you ask me to come here? Aren't you afraid that the Great Yuan dynasty will discover the relationship between the Blood Edge Empire and the Dark Star sect? The Black Tiger King said, I don't go outside and no one sees me. Who would know that I'm here? Yixing was surprised. Then how did you come here? The Black Tiger King smiled slightly and said, Didn't I say that after this tournament, I will give you a great opportunity? Follow me. Yixing's eyes lit up. The Black Tiger King had indeed said that. What great opportunity? Yixing's heart was filled with questions. Seeing the Black Tiger King walking towards the back of the hall, he quickly followed. At the back of the hall, there was a stone door. After opening it, a passageway led directly to the cliff behind the hall. After walking for over 2 miles, the two of them arrived at a cavern about 100 meters wide. This cavern was empty, but there were runes carved into the ground. This was a 4th grade transmission array. Second update, please roll on the ground and beg for monthly votes. Chapter 5:12. To be more precise, this was a complete level 4 teleportation array. A complete level 4 teleportation array could send people thousands of miles away, and the Blood Edge Kingdom was located in the center of the East Divine Continent. In other words, this teleportation array could send them to almost any place in the East Divine Continent. Yixing looked at the teleportation array on the ground and exclaimed, We're going to go to another place through the teleportation array. Black Biao King nodded and said, Didn't you ask me how I came here? I came here through the teleportation array. Now, let's go to the Dark Star sect. Yixing was surprised and said, The Dark Star sect is located in an extremely secretive place. The Great Yuan dynasty has always been searching for it. Why are you bringing me there now? Black Biao King said, The great fortune I'm giving you is in the Dark Star sect. Do you know what's the most precious thing in the Dark Star sect? Yixing shook his head, How would I know? Black Biao King smiled and said, It's a body refining technique, a divine level body refining technique. Even with Yixing's firm mind, he couldn't help but stare, divine level body refining technique. A top-grade mystic level technique could only allow a martial artist to cultivate to the limit of the king realm. Quasi-god and true god above the king realm required a divine level technique. Although it was only a divine level body refining technique and not a cultivation legacy, this still shocked Yixing, cough cough. Black Biao King coughed lightly and said, to be precise, it's an incomplete divine level body refining technique. It's only at the high-grade mystic level. There's nothing beyond that. Moreover, the high-grade mystic level body refining technique isn't complete. Yi Xing let out a sigh of relief. This sounded much more reasonable. Otherwise, the Dark Star sect wouldn't be bullied by the Great Yuan dynasty if they had a divine level body refining technique. Yi Xing's heart moved and another question flashed through his mind. He asked, why does the Dark Star sect have an incomplete divine level body refining technique? The Black Biao King said, it was passed down by my sect's founder. Didn't I say before that my sect's founder came from outer space? In reality, he came from a high-ranked continent, the Dark Star continent, and was a disciple of a 5-star sect, the Dark Star Temple. Due to an accident, he came to the Star Continent through a spatial crack and appeared in the Azure Cloud mountain range. When he was traveling through the spatial crack, he injured his foundation and cut off his future path of martial arts. Since the Star Continent didn't have any elixirs to heal his injuries, he was unable to leave the Star Continent and founded the Dark Star sect in the Star Continent. Yi Xing sucked in a cold breath and said, 5-star sects, sects with true gods. A martial saints faction would not be considered a martial saints faction. Only a perfected person's faction would be considered a 1-star faction. Venerable forces were 2 stars, king forces were 3 stars, and so on. Quasi-god forces were 4 stars, and true god forces were 5 stars. The Black Biao King nodded and said with a sigh, according to my sect's founder's records, his destiny was a 3-star blue destiny. If nothing unexpected happened, he could have at least cultivated to become a 3-star quasi-god. Unfortunately, he accidentally came to the Star Continent and even damaged his martial arts foundation, cutting off his path of martial arts. Unfortunately, the Star Continent did not have any spirit medicine that could heal his injuries, so his cultivation had stopped at the 2nd level of the Star Sea realm for his entire life. However, his strength was frighteningly strong. Although he was a 2-star king, he was not inferior to a 4-star king. 1,500 years ago, my sect's founder once fought with the Great Yuan dynasty's supreme king, Meng Yi, in the Azure Cloud mountain range. The battle caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to rend, destroying the mountains. In the end, my sect's founder won by half a move and beat Meng Yi until he holed up in the Great Yuan dynasty's capital for the rest of his life, never coming out. The Dark Canyon is the mark left behind by my sect's founder's attack. It contains a complete dark force. 1,500 years ago. A great battle between kings. Yi Xing suddenly remembered a legend that his master, Hua Tianfeng, had told him. The Azure Cloud sect was exterminated because of a great battle between 2 kings. This legend was actually true, and the origins of these 2 kings were frighteningly great. One was the founder of the Dark Star sect, and the other was the Great Yuan dynasty's 3rd 4-star king, Meng Yi. Hearing the Black Biao King's words, Yi Xing also felt pity for the founder of the Dark Star sect. Originally, he was a monstrous genius who could have become a quasi-god, but in the end, he was trapped in the Star Continent and his cultivation stopped at the 2nd level of the Star Sea realm. It was truly lamentable. The Black Biao King continued, the inheritance left behind by my sect's founder was all learned from the Dark Star Divine Palace. However, he was only an outer disciple in the Dark Star Divine Palace. The cultivation inheritance he learned was the Dark King Arts, which was not the orthodox method of the Dark Star Divine Palace. The highest level he learned was the Dark Star Divine Body, which was the orthodox method. The highest level he learned was the Dark Star Divine Body, which reached the highest level of the deity level. Unfortunately, when my sect's founder was at the 2nd level of the Star Sea realm, he did not learn everything. Even the middle level of the Dark Star Divine Body was not completely cultivated. Therefore, the Dark Star Divine Body that was passed down was somewhat incomplete, and could no longer be called the Dark Star Divine Body. I'm afraid it could only be called the Dark Star Xian Body. Ever since stepping into the Star Vortex realm, martial artists would focus on inner qi and ignore the physical body. Only after reaching the Venerable realm would they strengthen the cultivation of the physical body. However, they still placed more importance on the cultivation of the astral body. The body refining technique was an unorthodox technique in the Star Continent. Although warriors of the same cultivation level had stronger bodies and stronger abilities, the body refining technique was not valued in the Star Continent and was very rare. Because Yi Xing had strengthened his physical body many times, he was already outstanding among the enlightened masters. His strength was almost equivalent to that of a 4-star enlightened master. When Yi Xing's cultivation level was not high, his physical strength was very strong. However, as Yi Xing's cultivation level got higher and higher, his physical strength was not worth mentioning. This was the reason why body cultivation techniques were not valued. They would not improve as one's cultivation level increased. When the physical body was strong, it might be very strong at a certain time, but as one's cultivation level increased, it would gradually lose its effect. Unless there was a higher level body cultivation technique that could maintain the constant improvement of the physical strength. However, in this way, not only would it consume a lot of energy, it would also delay the normal cultivation of martial arts. Moreover, body cultivation techniques were rare. Where would there be so many body cultivation techniques to cultivate? However, the Dark Star Xian body of the Dark Star sect could be cultivated to the middle level of the profound realm. In other words, one could cultivate the physical body to the King realm. The King realm was already the peak of martial arts in the Star Continent. This Dark Star Xian body was worth cultivating. Yi Xing asked, "Brother Black Biao, have you also cultivated the Dark Star Xian body?" Black Biao King patted his chest and said, "Of course. I have already cultivated the Dark Star Xian body to the limit. Just the strength of my physical body alone is enough to defeat those of the same level. Coupled with the complete dark force and the astral power, I am able to compete with 4-star kings. The conditions for cultivating the Dark Star Xian body are very harsh. We need to go to the Dark Star sect. We will teleport there directly. I am persevering. The third update is here. There will be a fourth. Please continue to vote." Chapter 5:13. The Black Biao King waved his hand, and 100 star crystals flew out. Yi Xing was stunned when he saw the star crystals. They weren't medial-grade star crystals, but superior-grade star crystals. Superior-grade star crystals were very precious. They were the energy source for level 5 arrays. Furthermore, they could quickly replenish the astral energy of a monarch. A great success level for transportation array should require medial-grade star crystals to activate. However, superior-grade star crystals shouldn't be a problem either. The higher the energy barrier, the better. However, it wouldn't work if it was too low. For example, inferior-grade star crystals couldn't activate the array. One superior-grade star crystal was equivalent to 100 medial-grade star crystals. The 100 superior-grade star crystals the Black Biao King tossed out were equivalent to 10,000 medial-grade star crystals. Different transportation arrays consumed different amounts of energy. The more star crystals used, the farther the transportation array would be. One transportation would consume over 10,000 medial-grade star crystals. It was clear that the transportation array would be very far. The Black Biao King set up the array and determined the location. After a certain distance, he beckoned Yi Xing over. "Come here." Yi Xing walked over to the Black Biao King's side. Soon, the Black Biao King activated the array. The transportation array on the ground released a dazzling light. This light became more and more intense. In the blink of an eye, Yixing's vision was completely covered by a dazzling white light. After about 10 breaths of time, that dazzling white light dissipated. Yixing discovered that he had already arrived at another place. The previous transportation array was in a cave hole. Now, he was standing on a similar transportation array. However, this time, he was in a large hole. Was he already at the Dark Star sect? Sir Emissary. The martialists in the large hall greeted the Black Biao King respectfully when they saw him. Yixing sized up the person who spoke. This person's aura wasn't any weaker than Mo Jian's. The Dark Star sect was indeed a 3-star sect that could contend with the Great Yuan dynasty. The martialist guarding the transportation array was actually a supremacy. Of course, this was because the Dark Star sect was in the dark. Most of the time, they relied on teleportation formations to connect to the outside world. If an enemy invaded, it was very likely that they would come through teleportation formations. Therefore, it was not excessive to have a High Lord guard here for safety reasons. The Black Biao King nodded to that person and said to Yixing, "Follow me." Yixing followed the Black Biao King out of the transfer hole. What entered his eyes was a verdant valley. The Dark Star sect's territory is protected by a level 5 formation. Don't try to fly, or you will be killed by the formation. The Black Biao King said. He followed the path outside the teleportation hall and headed towards the depths of the valley. This was a huge valley that was over 10 miles deep. Yixing saw a pitch-black tower at the end of the valley. Although he was walking, the Black Biao King's speed was still very fast. As he walked, he said, "That is the Dark Star Pagoda, the place to cultivate the Dark Star profound body. With your current cultivation, you can only cultivate the spirit level. Perhaps it should be called the Dark Star Spirit Body." Sir Emissary. Along the way, they would occasionally encounter martial practitioners from the Dark Star sect. They all had respectful expressions towards the Black Tiger King and addressed him as Lord Emissary. Adding the martial practitioners in the teleportation hall, Yixing had met a total of 4 martial practitioners since arriving at the Dark Star sect. All of them were astral-reaching realm venerables, and even venerable lords. Soon, the two arrived in front of the Dark Star Pagoda. The martial practitioner guarding the Dark Star Pagoda had an aura no weaker than the one guarding the teleportation hole. He was also a venerable lord. Sir Emissary. Seeing the Black Biao King, he immediately walked over and sized up Yixing. Yixing faintly nodded in return. The Black Biao King asked, "Old Zhou, who is cultivating inside?" The old Zhou guarding the Dark Star Pagoda was surnamed Zhou and named Kunshan. He was an 8-star venerable lord. Zhou Kunshan walked a few steps closer to the Black Biao King and said in a low voice, "It's the young leader." Yixing couldn't help but be astonished. When this old Zhou said, "young leader," he lowered his voice. It didn't sound like a normal pronunciation. This made Yixing wonder, could it be that this young leader doesn't have a good relationship with Brother Black Biao? Young leader, Yixing could tell from the name that he should be the son of the Dark Star sect's leader. Brother Black Biao is the #1 expert of the Dark Star sect. He should be on the same level as the Dark Star sect's leader. The son of the Dark Star sect's leader shouldn't have the qualifications to be on bad terms with Brother Black Biao, right? Yixing was still somewhat astonished. The Black Biao King looked straight ahead and said, "He entered the Dark Star Pagoda so quickly. Seems like his Dark Star Xian body has improved again." Zhou Kunshan nodded and said in a low voice, "Young leader has already reached the 6th level of astral reaching realm." The Black Biao King's expression remained the same as he said indifferently, 29 years old, 6th level astral reaching realm. Not bad. He has broken our sect's record. 6th level astral reaching realm was a 6-star venerable. A 29-year-old 6-star venerable. Yixing sucked in a breath of cold air. This young leader's cultivation speed was simply heaven-defying. Zhou Kunshan sized up Yixing once again and said, "This young master is the one the star emissary is looking for." The Black Biao King nodded. Yixing cupped his fists towards Zhou Kunshan and said, "I am Yixing, greetings. Elder." Zhou Kunshan looked to be in his 60s, not young at all. Yixing originally wanted to call him senior, but he called Black Biao brother. This person's status was clearly much lower than Black Biao's. In front of Black Biao, Yixing seemed a bit inappropriate to call him senior. Therefore, Yixing changed the way he addressed him. Zhou Kunshan nodded towards Yixing and said, "Zhou Kunshan, young master, ye can just call me old Zhou." Yixing faintly smiled. Right then, a light flashed in front of the Dark Star Pagoda, and a youngster appeared out of nowhere. No, to be more precise, it should be a youngster. He looked to be only 16 years old, very young. The youngster wore a black robe with stars embroidered on it. He wore a purple gold crown on his head, and a white jade belt wrapped around his waist. His complexion was fair and clean, and his facial features were perfect as if they were carved. There was almost no flaw in this person's appearance. Not only was he handsome, but he could also be said to be beautiful. He was more beautiful than many women. Even his figure was impeccable. He was about 7 or 8 years old, neither tall nor short. "Young master." Zhou Kunshan immediately cupped his fists and greeted. The young master's gaze went past Zhou Kunshan and landed on Black Biao. Then, he sized up Yixing, and the corners of his mouth curled up into an arc. "Uncle Black Biao is back." Oh. Uncle Black Biao brought an outsider to the Dark Star sect. Looks like this kid is the demon star of chaos Uncle Black Biao was looking for. Uncle Black Biao actually found him before the Great Yuan dynasty. This is really unexpected, the young master said slowly. Although he kept calling Yixing Uncle Black Biao, Yixing did not hear the slightest bit of respect from his words. Moreover, this person called him kid. If he was respectful towards Black Biao, then he would not be so rude since Black Biao had brought him here. This young master was extraordinarily handsome, but his words and actions were not as good as his appearance. It's the 4th update again. Last 2 days, I'm looking for monthly votes. I'm looking for free recommendation votes on Monday. Chapter 5:14. Shui Yupeng, the young master of the Dark Star sect, was the person with the highest heaven's fate in the past 2,000 years. His fate was as high as a 3-star blue fate. In other words, he could naturally become a 3-star king. Even in the Great Yuan dynasty, such a heaven's fate was hard to come by in 1,000 years. In the entire star continent, Shui Yupeng was the only one with a 3-star heaven's fate since the Great Yuan dynasty's supreme king, Meng Tai. With such a high heaven's fate and being the son of the Dark Star sect's leader, no one could compare to Duan Yupeng in terms of talent or status. Even the Great Yuan dynasty's crown prince, Meng Yuanxing, paled in comparison to Shui Yupeng. Shui Yupeng not only had a high heaven's fate, but his astrology was also powerful. His talent in martial arts was also extremely good. Even in the realm of Venerable, he could fight above his realm. With such outstanding talent and a superior background, Shui Yupeng had always had his eyes above his head. In Shui Yupeng's eyes, even Liu, who was the pinnacle of the martial arts world in the Star Continent, was nothing. In his opinion, the king of the Star Continent would be trampled under his feet one day. Shui Yupeng's way of thinking was different from the Black Biao king. The latter knew how powerful the Great Yuan dynasty was, and that the Dark Star sect couldn't overthrow it. They could only place their hopes on the demonic star of chaos. As for Shui Yupeng, he didn't believe in the demonic star of chaos. He believed in himself. If there was a person who could overthrow the Great Yuan dynasty, then that person would be him, Shui Yupeng. What demonic star of chaos? Shui Yupeng didn't take it seriously. The Black Biao King looked at Zhui Yupeng and said indifferently, "Your progress is quite fast. From the 5th level to the 6th level of the astral reaching realm, you only used a little more than a year." Zhui Yupeng's face revealed a proud expression. "I have a 3-star blue fate. Isn't this normal? Meng Yuanxing could become a king before the age of 50. I can only be faster and earlier than him. The future #1 person of the star continent will be none other than me." The Black Biao King smiled indifferently. Zhui Yupeng was a genius among geniuses in both cultivation and martial arts. However, the Black Biao King didn't like him. He was too proud. Even if he did have the right to be arrogant, the Black Biao King just didn't like it. Moreover, the Black Tiger King was very clear about how powerful the Great Yuan dynasty was. Even the founder of the Dark Star sect and himself, who could already fight against 4-star kings, still had no hope of destroying the Great Yuan dynasty. In a one-on-one battle, the Black Biao King did not fear Meng Tai. In fact, the Black Biao King had the confidence to defeat Meng Tai. Just like that, 1,500 years ago, the founder of the Dark Star sect had defeated the supreme king of the Great Yuan dynasty, Meng Yi. However, the Diyuan dynasty had been established for 10,000 years, and its foundation was too deep. Within the Diyuan dynasty's capital, there was a terrifying killing array from the ancient era. Even 10 4-star kings would find it difficult to break in. Therefore, the Black Tiger King was very clear that even if Zhui Yupeng became a 3-star king in the future and raised his strength to the limit, catching up to him, or even surpassing him, it would still be impossible for him to support the Great Yuan dynasty. Since even the imperial advisor of the Great Yuan dynasty believed that the Demon Star of Chaos had the possibility of shaking the Great Yuan dynasty's foundation, then the Black Biao King naturally placed his hopes on Yixing, the Demon Star of Chaos, and not the young master of the Dark Star sect, Zhui Yupeng. Zhui Yupeng was extremely proud and conceited. He believed that he was the destined one to lead the Dark Star sect to become the overlord of the Star Continent. However, the Black Biao King did not think so, and believed that Yixing was the one. Therefore, Zhui Yupeng naturally did not like the Black Biao King, and also did not like Yixing, the Demon Star of Chaos. Zhui Yupeng only glanced at Yixing, and then ignored him. Yixing was only a 5-star enlightened being, and was not enough to enter Zhui Yupeng's eyes. He did not even have the qualifications to be hated by Zhui Yupeng, and only had the qualifications to be ignored. The Black Biao King looked down on Zhui Yupeng's pride, and said, "The future of the Star Continent does not belong to you. It belongs to the Demon Star of Chaos." Kiki. Zhui Yupeng laughed disdainfully, and his gaze once again turned to Yixing, and said, "What destiny do you have?" Yixing said, "I'm a 5-star green destiny now." In the Divine Continent's secret realm, Yixing had devoured Shang Buchuan's destiny, and evolved from a 9-star yellow destiny to a 5-star green destiny. However, in front of Zhui Yupeng, this little bit of improvement was not worth mentioning. It was almost the same. Whether it was a 9-star yellow destiny or a 5-star green destiny, in front of a 3-star green destiny, they could all be called trash destiny. Zhui Yupeng laughed disdainfully, and said, 5-star green destiny, ah. Uncle Black Biao, it was difficult for this trash destiny to cultivate to my current level. The future of the Star Continent belongs to him. The Black Biao King's expression was normal. He believed in the words of the Demon Star of Chaos, and therefore, he believed in Yixing's future. The Black Biao King said, "His bloodline is atavistic and his destiny is not fixed. As his bloodline continues to awaken, it will continue to improve." Previously, he was just an ordinary destiny, but now he's a 5-star green destiny. If his bloodline continues to awaken, in time, his destiny will very likely surpass yours. Zhui Yupeng laughed, and said, "Even if it's atavistic bloodline, there's a limit. Moreover, the chances of bloodline awakening will gradually decrease as one grows older. He's not young now, right? He's already an adult. Even if there's a chance of bloodline awakening in the future, how high can his destiny rise? A 6-star green destiny, or a 7-star green destiny? Even if he defies the heavens and raises his destiny to a king's destiny, Kiki, to reach a 1-star green destiny, that's already 8 lifetimes of good fortune, but it still can't compare to my 3-star green destiny. What can he use to surpass me? Zhui Yupeng said the last sentence resolutely, and his tone was full of confidence. Yixing slightly narrowed his eyes. A 3-star azure fate was indeed a bit far away. However, the increase in his heavens wasn't due to luck or bloodline atavism. Instead, it was due to the actual power of the black hole. For Yixing, not to mention the king's destiny, as long as he had enough destiny to devour, it was not impossible for him to reach the quasi-god destiny in the future. However, this was only in theory. In reality, there were only 2 3-star green destiny martial artists in the star continent. One was the Grand Monarch of the Great Yuan Dynasty, Meng Tai, and the other was Zhui Yupeng. It was almost impossible for Yixing to surpass Zhui Yupeng's destiny, unless he could devour the destiny of martial artists outside the star continent. Yixing thought to himself, after the 3rd genius selection, the top 10 geniuses of the younger generation will all be able to enter the star continent outside the star continent and have the opportunity to meet the younger generation of the other star continents. It's not impossible for my destiny to surpass Zhui Yupeng. The Black Tiger King slightly frowned. Zhui Yupeng's destiny was too high, and it was indeed not easy to surpass him. However, the Black Tiger King still had unshakable confidence in the Fiend Star of Chaos, and said, "Just wait and see, I'll surpass him one day." Chapter 5:15. The corners of Zhui Yupeng's eyes twitched as he sneered. Then let's wait and see. In the star continent, only I, Zhui Yupeng, can surpass others. No one can surpass me. Zhui Yupeng said coldly as he walked away. After taking a few steps, he stopped and said, "Uncle Black Biao, one day, you will understand that you are wrong." What demon star of chaos? Even if there is a demon star of chaos in this world, it can only be me, Zhui Yupeng. With that, Zhui Yupeng strode away without looking back. Yixing looked at Zhui Yupeng's back as his eyes lit up. He clenched his fists and thought to himself, "This guy is too arrogant. I'll work hard to find an opportunity to surpass him as soon as possible." Black Biao King had long been tired of Zhui Yupeng's boasting and did not feel anything. After Zhui Yupeng left, the Black Biao King said to Yixing, "Inside the Dark Star Pagoda, there is a king's intent left behind by our sect's founder. When you enter, you will obtain the cultivation information of the Dark Star Profound Body, and then you can cultivate inside. The cultivation method of the Dark Star Xian Body is to fight. Constant and intense fighting allows the body to move and absorb the Dark Star power during the battle to continuously strengthen it. The pagoda is divided into 7 levels and each level has an illusion array that corresponds to the 7 levels of cultivation of the low spirit level, middle spirit level, high spirit level, top spirit level, low spirit level, middle spirit level and high spirit level respectively. Yixing, go in. Remember, when fighting in the Dark Star Pagoda, you must use the power of your body. If you use an array, no matter how many targets you kill in the pagoda, it will be useless for the cultivation of the Dark Star Xian Body. Don't be afraid inside. Just fight to your heart's content. If you encounter any danger, the illusion array will teleport you out." While Black Biao King was speaking, Zhou Kunshan had already opened the door to the first level of the Dark Star Pagoda and Yixing walked in. Boom! The door was quickly closed, and all the light was gone. There was only darkness left in the pagoda. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. This kind of darkness was like when Bai Xing used the black hole astrology. It was extremely dark. In this place, one couldn't see anything. However, after comprehending the grand momentum of darkness, one could use the grand momentum of darkness to sense their surroundings. The deeper one's comprehension of the grand momentum of darkness, the farther one could sense it, and the clearer it would be. Yixing's dark force had reached the peak of the minute's subtlety and was only one step away from the phenomenal success of heaven and man unity. He was more powerful than many overlords. When Yixing used the power of darkness, the surrounding darkness transformed into Yixing's sense of touch, allowing him to see everything clearly. From the outside, the diameter of the Dark Star Pagoda was only about 30 meters. However, Yixing could sense that it was several miles wide. There was indeed an illusory array here. Yixing was in an illusory array space. In the upper right corner of this space, there was a staircase leading to the second level. A ray of light flashed and entered Yixing's mind. In an instant, a piece of information appeared in Yixing's mind. It was the cultivation information of the Dark Star spiritual body. However, it was only the cultivation information of the spirit level, so it could only be regarded as the Dark Star spiritual body. As for the profound level, it could only be obtained after reaching the 5th level. After Yixing obtained the cultivation information, in less than 10 breaths, a dark figure appeared in this spacious illusory space. This dark figure revealed the aura of the first-level star vortex realm. It was the strength of a one-star martial saint. What a pure dark star power! Yixing's eyes lit up. This dark figure was formed by the dark star power. This dark star power is condensed and does not dissipate. Its power is equivalent to that of a one-star martial saint. It seems that I have to break it so that my body can absorb this dark star power. Yixing thought. At this moment, the dark figure had already rushed toward Yixing and punched out. At the same time, the second dark figure appeared. Flaming Dipper Fist. Yixing also threw a punch, and a flaming fist projection shot forth, shattering the oncoming dark figure with a single punch. It was only a one-star martial saint. In front of Yixing, it could not withstand a single blow. The shattered dark figure turned into wisps of dark star power. Yixing used the cultivation method of the dark star spiritual body, and the dark star power immediately entered his body. My body can't absorb it. 99% of the energy is wasted. It seems that because the body is full of energy, the dark astral energy has nowhere to go. It needs the body to operate, and the energy inside will be exhausted before it can absorb new energy. No wonder it has to be cultivated in battle. Yixing understood the key immediately. He immediately dispersed the Dipper Fist and took a step forward. With pure physical strength, he punched out at the second dark figure. Yixing's physical strength was equivalent to the strength of a 4-star martial sage. Even a 1-star martial sage would not be able to withstand his punch. With a loud explosion, the second dark figure was also blown up by Yixing and turned into wisps of dark star power. Yixing did not use the Dipper Fist. He used his physical strength directly. The consumption of his physical strength was much greater. The dark star power he absorbed was more than before. However, this was far from enough to strengthen his physical body. If he wanted to strengthen his physical body and improve his attainment of the dark star spiritual body, he would need to absorb the dark star power of thousands of dark figures. The first floor is too easy. The target was blown up with one punch. I did not use much strength. Naturally, I could not absorb much dark star power. I have to go to a higher floor. It has to be more difficult and stressful. When the third dark figure appeared, Yixing was already like a gust of wind. He quickly moved to the entrance of the second floor and went up to the second floor. The second floor was the same as the first floor. It was a space of several kilometers. In the opposite corner, there was a staircase leading to the third floor. There was already a dark figure in front. It had the aura of a 6-star martial sage. The second floor corresponds to the medial grade spirit stage. A 6-star martial sage appeared. It looks like a 1-star martial sage should appear on the third floor. The fourth floor should be a 6-star martial sage. Only on the fourth floor can I feel pressure. Yixing moved like the wind. After blowing up the 6-star martial sage with one punch, he quickly arrived at the entrance of the third floor and entered it. Indeed, the dark figure on the third floor had the aura of a 1-star martial sage. Yixing flew past it and directly charged into the fourth floor. The dark figure on the fourth floor had the strength of a 6-star martial sage. Be it its reaction speed or attack speed, it was much faster than the dark figures on the first 3 floors. Whoosh! Just as Yixing appeared on the fourth floor, a fist image shot over. Yixing also threw out a punch. When the two fists collided, Yixing's body shook violently. His body immediately flew backward, and the qi and blood in his body surged. Yixing's physical body was only equivalent to a 4-star martial sage's attack. Of course, he could not block it. Hua! In an instant, the black figure threw out a second punch. Good timing. Yixing immediately circulated the astral energy and executed the flaming astral fist to counterattack. Chapter 5:16. Even if Yixing didn't use astrology or the power of fire, just the power of the stars, his strength was not something a 6-stars enlightened master could compare to. When the two fists collided, Yixing did not even take half a step back. However, the dark figure was pushed back more than 10 meters. At this moment, if Yixing attacked with his full strength, he could immediately kill the dark figure. However, Yixing felt that the consumption of his physical body was not that great. On the other hand, the dark figure that was equivalent to a 6-star sage contained much more dark astral energy than the dark figures on the previous floors. If his physical body could not absorb so much dark astral energy, killing this dark figure would be futile. It would not have much effect on the cultivation of the dark astral spirit body. Yixing secretly suppressed his astral energy. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the dark figure. He used the flaming astral fist and continued to attack. This time, Yixing suppressed his strength. He was evenly matched with the dark figure. The two of them exchanged punches and kicks. It was a head-on collision. This kind of battle consumed a lot of physical strength. In less than 3 moves, another dark figure appeared. It was also equivalent to a 6-star sage. It charged at Yixing. Because the Dark Star Treasure Pagoda was a body refinement technique, the attacks of these black silhouettes were all close-range attacks. Their moves were not exquisite and were very ordinary. However, their strength was astonishing. Naturally, close-range attacks would exhaust one's physical strength at a very fast rate. Fighting 1 against 2, Yixing felt a lot of pressure. He released his suppressed strength and reached a state of equilibrium. Soon, a third dark figure appeared on the fourth floor. Yixing released a little more astral energy. He was not at a disadvantage even though he was fighting 1 against 3. When the fourth dark figure appeared, Yixing faced attacks from 4 directions at the same time. Under the state of close combat, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. The pressure increased again. Bang 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 bang. Yixing kept dodging. At the same time, he kept exchanging blows with the dark figures. Even though he was using astral energy, his physical strength was being consumed at an incomparably fast rate. When Yixing felt that his fleshly body's strength was almost depleted, he immediately utilized the grand momentum of fire. Yixing's grand aura of fire had already reached the realm of one with the heavens. This was a level of comprehension that only High Lords could achieve. The astral flame fist had fused with the grand aura of fire, causing its power to multiply. Bang! Yixing punched the head of one of the dark figures and blew it apart. The dark figure's body turned into pure dark astral energy and was absorbed by Yixing. This time, Yixing's body had consumed a lot of energy. His flesh and bones also felt a little tired. The dark star force, which had a strengthening effect on the body, flowed into his body. Suddenly, his flesh and bones were like a whale, rapidly absorbing the dark star force and strengthening his body. While his body was being strengthened, the battle continued. Every once in a while, a dark figure condensed from the dark star force would appear in the illusory formation. Yixing's opponents remained at 4. Yixing was fighting 4 at the same time. Although the pressure was great, the effect was very obvious. While his physical strength was being consumed, he was also absorbing the dark star force crazily, constantly strengthening himself. When the 5th dark figure appeared, Yixing fully utilized the grand momentum of fire to immediately kill one of them. His opponents were always at 4. At the same time, he was constantly absorbing the dark star force. The dark star force of a 6th celestial sage was very pure. Yixing couldn't absorb it at all in a short period of time. Most of it was wasted. However, this was already the fastest cultivation speed that Yixing could achieve. It was difficult to increase it any further. When Yixing absorbed the dark star force of the 4th 6th celestial sage, his dark star spirit body had already begun to show results. It was equivalent to the entry level. This was mainly because Yixing's physical strength was equivalent to that of a 4 celestial sage. Therefore, as long as he absorbed some dark star force, he successfully reached the entry level. His physical strength was equivalent to that of a 4 celestial sage, which was equivalent to the dark star spirit body's great success. Therefore, it wasn't difficult for Yixing to cultivate his dark star spirit body to the great success level. It could even be said that it was easy for him. The difficulty was to cultivate it to perfection from the great success level. Another dark figure equivalent to a 6th celestial sage was killed by Yixing. Then, a new dark figure appeared. Its aura was much stronger than the previous one. Its aura was equivalent to that of Venerable 7 Star. Counting the number, this was the 11th dark figure to appear. It seemed that 10 of them were considered a wave. After 10 of them, the cultivation of the dark figure would increase by 1 level. When Venerable 7 Star joined the battle, the pressure on Yixing increased by more than 10 times. Even if he used the grand momentum of fire, he couldn't stop the momentum and kept retreating. Whoosh! A starlight rushed out from between Yixing's eyebrows and turned into a huge flaming star. Extreme astrological form, flame astrological form. Using the astrological form, Yixing's strength skyrocketed. Even Venerable 7 Star's strength was nothing in front of Yixing. Soon, several dark figures equivalent to 6 celestial sages were killed by Yixing one after another. Venerable 7 Star replaced the previous 6 celestial sages. Yixing was besieged by Venerable 7 Star. In the sky, the flame astrological form floated, and endless flame astral power fell. Yixing used the grand momentum of fire to perform the Flame Dipper Fist. Its power was shocking. Even if 4 Venerable 7 Stars were besieging him, Yixing was still as steady as Mount Tai. As he performed the fist momentum, the 4 Venerable 7 Stars were forced to retreat. After killing several 6 celestial sages, there was still a lot of dark astral power left in his body. His body couldn't absorb it all in a short time, so Yixing wasn't in a hurry to kill his target. However, the speed at which the dark figures appeared in the illusion didn't slow down. The 7 stars besieging Yixing soon became 5, and then 6. With 6 Venerable 7 Stars besieging Yixing, Yixing felt the pressure again. Facing such a terrifying attack, even Venerable 8 Stars would have to go all out. Although Yixing was strong, under the flame astrological form, he wasn't stronger than Venerable 8 stars. Sunfire Spear Technique, Incinerate. Yixing raised his hand, and the dragon blood spear appeared in his hand. He instantly performed the Sunfire Spear Technique. With a supreme-grade spirit weapon in hand, Yixing's strength increased again. The dragon blood spear carried a raging sea of fire and instantly smashed the head of a Venerable 7 star. The target equivalent to a Venerable 7 star was killed. The pure dark astral power was much more than the Venerable 6 stars, and the quality was also much higher. Yixing felt comfortable. His flesh and blood trembled as the pure dark astral power was absorbed into his body. His flesh, blood, tendons, bones, and skin were all rapidly strengthening. With the dragon blood spear in hand, Yixing fought in close combat. It wasn't difficult for him to kill the Venerable 7 stars. The dark figures equivalent to Venerable 7 stars were killed one by Yixing. The intense battle caused Yixing's physical energy consumption to increase greatly. As a result, the speed at which he absorbed dark astral power also increased greatly. Chapter 5:17. There were more Venerable 7 stars than Venerable 6 stars in the fourth layer of the formation. The 21st dark figure that appeared was still Venerable 7 star. The target of a Venerable 7 stars contained too much dark star power. Yixing needed a long time to absorb it. It was no exaggeration to say that it would take at least 15 minutes for Yi Crossing to absorb the dark star power of a Venerable 7 stars. Moreover, a lot of the dark star power would be lost. Of course, the dark star power that was lost wasn't really wasted. Instead, it was absorbed by the formation and turned into formation energy. In any case, there was an endless stream of figures coming out from the formation. Moreover, after the dark figures were killed, the dark astral energy would not be wasted. Yixing did not care if he could absorb the dark astral energy. Once the pressure became too great and there were too many dark figures besieging him, Yixing would unleash his full strength and kill one of them. However, the strength of a Venerable 7 star wasn't to be underestimated. When the number of them reached a certain level, Yixing couldn't kill them just because he wanted to. When there were more than 20 Venerable 7 stars besieging Yixing, even if Yixing unleashed his full strength, he was still forced to retreat. It was very dangerous. Being besieged by 20 Venerable 7 stars at the same time, even a Venerable 8 star would die if he couldn't break out of the encirclement quickly. Yixing wasn't stronger than a Venerable 8 star, but Yixing had the super brain scan and knew the attack trajectory of most of the targets in front of him. It was easier for him to deal with them, but it was also very dangerous. Moreover, as time passed, the number of Venerable 7 stars that appeared in the illusory matrix was still increasing. They pounced forward and attacked continuously. Yixing's strength was pushed to the limit under the flame astral form, but he could not withstand it. Whoosh! Another starlight shot out from Yixing's forehead and turned into a huge black hole vortex. Yixing used the black hole astral form. The dark astral pagoda was originally a pitch-black world. When the black hole astral form overlapped with the dark world, it was still pitch-black. The darkness couldn't block their vision at all. The black hole planet had no effect on them. However, when Yixing used the black hole astrology, the situation was very different. Under the black hole astrology, Yixing's perception was more than 10 times stronger. It was as if a superbrain was scanning in all directions. Yixing knew everything that happened within a few miles. In this world of darkness, Yixing was like an omniscient god. Originally, Yixing's superbrain scan could only scan half of the area in front of him. Now, under the black hole astrology, Yixing was able to scan the area without any blind spots. Furthermore, the superbrain scan was based on the perception of the mind. Under the black hole constellation, it was based on the sense of touch. There was no need for the brain to think at all. The superbrain's reaction was even faster than the perception of the mind. Yixing used the momentum of the wind and pushed his speed to the limit. He shuttled through the gaps between the attacks of the venerable 7 stars and turned the tables in one fell swoop. He used the dragon blood spear as a pawn and unleashed flaming spear astrals to counterattack. Soon, another venerable 7 stars was killed by Yixing. However, the other party's attacks were too dense. Even though Yixing was as fast as lightning, it was difficult for him to dodge all of them. He also suffered some injuries. At this time, the importance of a movement technique was displayed. Yixing's attainments in the momentum of the wind were extremely high. In terms of speed, he was not inferior to some martial artists who had cultivated a top-grade movement technique to greater mastery. However, in terms of exquisiteness, it was inferior. Qigong movement techniques were not only fast and slow, but they also had many variations in movement techniques. Yixing's speed was straightforward. Therefore, the attacks he encountered were too dense and he could not dodge in the most accurate way. He could only rely on his absolute speed to move from a distance. This way, he suffered even more attacks. If Yixing's attainments in the momentum of the wind had not reached an extremely high level, his life would have been in danger under such dense attacks and he would have been teleported out of the Dark Star Pagoda. Time flew. One venerable 7 star after another fell to the dragon blood spear. The intense battle caused Yixing's physical energy to be greatly depleted. At the same time, it was rapidly replenished. The cultivation speed of the Dark Star spirit body was extremely fast. In less than 2 hours, Yixing had killed over 10 venerable 7 stars. Yixing's Dark Star spirit body had made another breakthrough, reaching the small mastery realm. However, Yixing's physical body was originally very strong. He was still far from reaching his limit. At the very least, he would have to cultivate his Dark Star spirit body to the large mastery realm before he would encounter any problems. Yixing fought as he replenished his energy. His body felt tired and comfortable and tired. He didn't completely exhaust his energy, which greatly extended the time he could fight. Around 18 hours later, Yixing had killed nearly 100 venerable 7 stars. Yixing's Dark Star spirit body had made further progress, reaching the large mastery realm. To cultivate the Dark Star spirit body to the large mastery realm in just one day, this speed was simply godly. If Yixing's physical body wasn't originally at the level of a 4-star sage, he definitely wouldn't have been able to reach this speed. The large mastery realm of the Dark Star spirit body was extremely wide. The strength of the physical body ranged from a 1-star sage to a 5-star sage. Right now, Yixing's physical body was just barely at the level of a 4-star sage. Thus, there was still a period of rapid growth before reaching the large mastery realm. Once the Dark Star spirit body reached the level of a 4-star sage and reached the same level as Yixing's physical body, the true difficulty would come. After 100 venerable 7 stars had appeared, the dark figures that continued to appear had become much stronger. They were now at the level of an 8-star sage. Yixing was startled. It seemed that the longer he stayed in the illusion array, the stronger the dark figures would become. An 8-star sage was extremely powerful. If it was a one-on-one fight, Yixing wouldn't be afraid if he used all his trump cards. But if it was a group attack, Yixing definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. Even if it was just an 8-star sage leading a group of 7-star sages, it would still be difficult to resist. Whoosh! Yixing used the power of wind to push his speed to the limit. In an instant, he crossed several miles from one side of the illusion array to the other, avoiding the attacks of the 7-star sages. As he moved, Yixing put away the dragon blood spear in his hand and replaced it with a strong bow. Top-grade spirit bow, 7-star bow. The dark figures that were equivalent to 8-star sages had to be dealt with first. Whoosh! In an instant, Yixing used the third astrological aspect, Sagittarius. In the sky, the Sagittarius astrological aspect and the black hole astrological aspect were side by side. Yixing's strength erupted as he drew the seven-star bow. The seven-star gem emitted a resplendent light that condensed into a starlight arrow and shot out. Arrow of Death. The ultimate arrow of the blazing arrow art, sure kill arrow. At this moment, Yixing's strength erupted. Coupled with the power of the Sagittarius astrological aspect, how powerful was he? The arrow pierced through the sky and pierced the heart of the dark figure that was equivalent to an 8-star sage. Last 24 hours, requesting monthly votes. Requesting a recommendation ticket. Chapter 518. The arrow contained peerless power. When it pierced through the heart, the power exploded, blasting a huge hole in the dark figure's chest. The dark figure, who was equivalent to an exalted 8-star, instantly died and turned into surging dark star power that surged toward Yixing comfortable. The dark star power contained in the exalted 8-star was much purer than that of the exalted 7-star. It quickly nourished Yixing's body, making him feel extremely comfortable. The Big Dipper bow was a top supreme grade spirit bow. It was extremely powerful. With Yixing's current strength, he couldn't even draw the Big Dipper bow to a full moon. Therefore, even if it was just one draw, Yixing had used a lot of strength, which consumed a lot of his physical strength. However, the dark star power contained in the exalted 8-star was more than enough to make up for this consumption. As soon as Yixing killed the exalted 8-star, dozens of exalted 7-star attacked him. Exalted 7-star's reaction was extremely fast. A few miles away was like a square foot to him. Whoosh! 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 Yixing activated the flame array flags and turned them into a flame shield formation to protect his surroundings. Although using the formation to kill enemies wasn't beneficial to cultivating the dark star spirit body, Yixing needed the formation to resist at this moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to hold on. The flame shield formation could defend against the exalted 9-star's attacks. Although there were many exalted 7-star's attacks, they couldn't break through the flame shield formation's defense. Yixing was inside the formation's defense. He held the Big Dipper bow and drew it again. The 7 gems shone brightly and condensed into a starlight arrow that shot out. Burning arrow. The arrow carried the terrifying power of flames and instantly hit an exalted 7-star, killing him instantly. The exalted 7-star dissipated and turned into dark star power that surged into Yixing's body. Yixing frantically absorbed it. Whoosh! 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 Yixing continuously drew his bow and executed the incineration arrow art. The 7-star's bow continuously shot out starlight arrows, killing venerable 7-stars one after another. Even when the dark figure of the venerable 8-stars appeared, Yixing unleashed his full power under the Sagittarius constellation and killed it all the same. Even though Yixing was protected by the flame shield dipper array and wasn't attacked, he still had to stand still and shoot arrows. However, continuously shooting the Big Dipper bow exhausted him. Every time he drew the Big Dipper bow, he didn't just use the strength of his arms. His entire body's flesh, blood, tendons, bones, and skin were all moving. It was extremely taxing on his body. Even though Yixing was constantly absorbing the dark star power to strengthen his physical body, there was a limit to his absorption speed. The amount of energy his physical body could replenish was no longer comparable to the amount of energy he consumed. This was especially true for mental exhaustion, which was something that energy could not make up for. With the Big Dipper bow and the flame shield dipper array, Yixing persisted for another hour. Then, he panted heavily and couldn't hold on any longer. He rushed to the 3rd floor. The dark figures on the 4th floor were venerable 6 stars at first, then venerable 7 stars, venerable 8 stars, and finally half-step venerables. The dark figures on the third floor were from Venerable 1 stars to Venerable 5 stars. Yixing couldn't hold on the fourth floor. Naturally, the pressure on the third floor was greatly reduced. Furthermore, Yixing didn't stop on the third floor. Instead, he went all the way to the second floor. The flame shield dipper array was set up around him, protecting him inside. Yixing sat cross-legged and absorbed the dark star power in his body. He also recuperated and recovered his mental exhaustion. If he stopped on the third floor, there would be too many Venerable 1 stars to Venerable 5 stars. Even ants could bite an elephant to death. After a long time, the flame shield dipper array might not be able to hold on. However, on the third floor, the dark figures were from Venerable 6 stars to half-step Venerable 6 stars. No matter how many of them there were, they wouldn't be able to shake the flame shield dipper array. Yixing rested for more than 2 hours. His physical body, mental state, and astral energy had only recovered to their peak state. At this time, a large number of dark figures had already gathered outside the flame shield dipper array. Fire burning the 9 heavens. Yixing killed all the dark figures around him with a group attack. Then, he quickly went to the third floor and finally to the fourth floor. Because Yixing had left, the dark figures on the fourth floor had all disappeared. As Yixing appeared, another Venerable 6 stars appeared. The battle started from the beginning again. First, it was the Venerable 6 stars. Then, it was the Venerable 7 stars. Finally, it was the Venerable 8 stars. Yixing fought fiercely on the fourth floor for nearly 20 hours. At the beginning, he fought with his fists. Slowly, he fought with his spear. Finally, he used the Sagittarius constellation to fight with his archery. When he was exhausted, he left the fourth floor and returned to the second floor to rest. Day after day, Yixing stayed in the Dark Astral Pagoda. On the first day, Yixing's dark astral spiritual body reached greater mastery. After 3 days, Yixing's dark astral spiritual body reached great mastery. The great mastery of the dark astral spiritual body was very wide. Its strength was equivalent to a Venerable 6 stars to a half-step Venerable. When one reached great mastery, they would have the strength of a Venerable 6 stars. When the dark astral spiritual body reached great mastery, it would be able to defeat a half-step Venerable with its physical body. Yixing's physical strength was equivalent to a Venerable 4 stars. Therefore, when the dark astral spiritual body reached great mastery, it only increased the strength of his physical body from a Venerable 4 stars to a Venerable 6 stars. The truly difficult part was the cultivation after great mastery. After one intense battle after another, Yixing's physical strength gradually increased. On the 5th day, Yixing could defeat a Venerable 7 stars with his physical strength alone. On the 7th day, Yixing, who was in the midst of an intense battle, suddenly became much stronger. The power of his astral energy surged, and his cultivation broke through to the 6th tier of the astral realm. When Yixing was at the 5th tier of the astral realm, he wanted to strengthen his foundation through battle. However, whether it was in the Genius Trials or in the Divine Continent Mystery Realm, Yixing had not been able to unleash his full strength in a battle. However, in the Dark Astral Pagoda, Yixing had achieved his goal. In every battle, he would unleash his full strength and use all his trump cards. Day after day of battle, Yixing's foundation had long been strengthened. As he absorbed the dark astral energy, his physical body strengthened, and his cultivation rose as well. It was natural for him to break through to Venerable 6 stars. After becoming a Venerable 6 stars, Yixing's strength increased greatly. Together with his terrifying physical strength, it was easy for him to kill an Venerable 8 stars. In the battle, Yixing's dark astral spiritual body's cultivation was even faster. On the 8th day, the dark astral spiritual body had another qualitative improvement. He reached the level where he could kill an Venerable 8 stars with his physical strength alone. He had killed an 8-star venerable master with just his physical strength. How terrifying was that? A single punch from him was enough to destroy a mountain. Yixing's physical body was like a beast in human form. However, Yixing's dark astral spiritual body had not reached its limit. Right now, Yixing could draw his supreme-grade spiritual bow to the fullest. He could kill a dark figure at the level of Venerable 9 stars. And the dark figure at the level of Venerable 9 stars contained extremely pure dark astral energy. It could continue to strengthen Yixing's dark astral spiritual body. Perhaps it's because my physical body is strong to begin with, but before I entered the tower, my physical body was already equivalent to a 4-star sage's strength, at the level of Dark Star Spirit Body's great success. The Black Biao King shook his head and said, "The Dark Star Spirit Body is not only about the strength of the physical body, but also the absorption of Dark Star energy. Do you know how long it took the fastest person in the Dark Star sect to cultivate the Dark Star Spirit Body to perfection? How long? 3 years. 3 years. Yixing's eyes were immediately filled with shock. He had been cultivating in the Dark Star Pagoda and did not notice the passage of time. However, it had not been long, right? How big was the difference between 3 years and 3 years? The Black Biao King continued, "There is a limit to how much Dark Star energy the physical body can absorb. When we cultivate the Dark Star Xian body, we first temper our physical body outside and raise its strength to a certain level before entering the Dark Star Pagoda to cultivate and absorb Dark Star energy. Once your body is satiated, you can continue to temper your body outside. Most of your time is spent on tempering your body. Once you cultivate, it may take a few months or even half a year. Could it be that you can absorb the power of the Dark Stars endlessly?" Absorbing Dark Star energy endlessly was the key point, and it was what shocked the Black Biao King and Zhou Kunshan. "I don't feel that there is a limit to how much Dark Star energy my physical body can absorb," Yixing said in a daze. As he spoke, his heart shook, and a light flashed in his mind. Black Hole Astral Form. During the battle, Yixing used the Black Hole Astrology. The Black Hole Astrology was the highest dark attribute astrology. Perhaps, this was the reason why his physical body could absorb Dark Star energy endlessly. Other than the astrology, Yixing and other martial artists did not have anything special. Absorbing Dark Star energy was definitely not because of the Sagittarius constellation. It could only be because of the Black Hole Astrology. Although Yixing could not explain the exact reason, he was certain that it was because of the Black Hole Astrology. The Black Hole Astrology has many uses. Not only does it allow me to cultivate dark martial arts with twice the result with half the effort, it also allows me to absorb Dark Star energy endlessly. Isn't the Dark Star Spirit Body a dark attribute body refining technique? Yixing said in his heart. The Black Biao King looked at Yixing. Other than surprise, his eyes were filled with admiration. "You are indeed worthy of being called the Demon Star in troubled times. You are different from the rest. The Dark Star Pagoda can be cultivated repeatedly. Do you still want to continue cultivating? On the 4th floor of the Dark Star Pagoda, one could cultivate the Dark Star Spirit Body to perfection." Chapter 520. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. Shuefeng Empire Academy. The square where the battle arena was located was packed with people. Basically, all the students in the academy had rushed here. Even some of the elders of the academy had come to watch the battle. Mo Tong sat cross-legged on the high battle arena. His eyes were focused on his nose, and his nose was focused on his heart as he waited quietly. Noon had passed, but Yixing still had not appeared. Although Mo Tong's expression was calm, his heart was not calm. Is that kid so scared that he doesn't dare to fight? Mo Tong snorted coldly in his heart. Although Yi Xing did not dare to fight and would definitely be ridiculed by others, who would actually show up and be beaten up by him, he had prepared well for this day. He purposely spent 10 days wantonly announcing the battle so that all the students in the academy would come to watch the battle. Moreover, Mo Tong had also arranged for a group of soldiers. As long as Yi Xing appeared, his group of soldiers would cheer for him and gather momentum. At that time, under the cheers of the crowd, he would unleash his invincible might and defeat Yi Xing as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, he would ruthlessly beat Yi Xing up. When he thought of that scene, Mo Tong's heart was filled with incomparable joy. He could not help but smile. After waiting for a long time, Yi Xing still did not appear. Finally, Mo Tong could not wait any longer. He stood up and scanned the surroundings. Mo Tong could not find Yi Xing's figure. He could not help but feel a little restless. He stood on the battle arena and shouted loudly. Yi Xing, you coward, where are you hiding? Are you planning to hide in your turtle shell forever? The sound waves were like waves that rushed in all directions. The calm void was stirred up by the sound waves for no reason. Below the battle arena, many students immediately shouted, "Brother Liu, you're the first one. Senior brother Mo Tong is wise and mighty. He is the #1 genius and his strength is unparalleled. Yi Xing is just a nobody. How would he dare to fight with senior brother Mo Tong? That's right. Yi Xing must be a coward. He doesn't dare to fight and is hiding somewhere like a coward. Since I've already agreed to the duel, how can I not fight? Even if I don't dare to, I should at least show myself and beg senior brother Mo Tong for mercy. If I hide directly, wouldn't I be a coward? How can I face others in the future?" The people who spoke were all members of Mo Tong's morale group. In the Blood Edge Empire, Mo Tong's status was noble, his strength was strong, and his aptitude was top-notch. There were countless students who wanted to be friends with him, and there were even quite a few who wanted to be his follower. These people were the main members of Mo Tong's morale group. There were a lot of them. More than half of the spectating students were Mo Tong's morale group. Their roars were earth-shattering. Just this aura alone was extremely terrifying. They stood behind Mo Tong, imperceptibly increasing his aura. "Yi Xing, how long are you going to hide? Come out!" Mo Tong roared. His voice reverberated for dozens of li. At this time, Yi Xing was returning from the depths of the institute. He heard Mo Tong's voice from dozens of li away. Yi Xing focused his voice into a line and shouted, "What's the hurry? This Yi will be there soon." On the battle stage, Mo Tong's eyes lit up when he heard Yi Xing's voice. He was afraid that Yi Xing wouldn't come. Today's duel was in full view of everyone. It was a battle of martial strength. Arrays, forbidden weapons, and other external objects were not allowed. The only external objects allowed were weapons. As the #1 genius, Mo Tong was the strongest among the younger generation in the East Divine Continent. The only thing he feared about Yi Xing was Yi Xing's arrays. If Yi Xing didn't use arrays, he wouldn't put Yi Xing in his eyes at all. Below the battle stage, the crowd's spirits rose when they heard Yi Xing's voice. They had been waiting for several days in anticipation of this duel. Of course, they didn't want it to end carelessly because someone was absent. Only with Yi Xing's arrival would there be a good show to watch. Yi Xing spurred his flame wings to fly and arrived at the center of the plaza very soon, landing on the battle stage. Mo Tong looked at Yi Xing and said with a chuckle, "Why? Scared? Hiding and not daring to come out? Ho ho. Already agreed to the agreement, can you hide? If you're scared, you kneel and kowtow to me 3 times, and I'll spare you." Kowtow. Kowtow. Below the battle stage, a large number of martial artists started shouting, cheering for Immerse. Tens of thousands of martial artists shouted in unison. The aura accumulated shot straight to the clouds, shattering the clouds in the sky. It was as if an enormous sword pierced the sky. However, aura was only of great use when the strong were suppressing the weak. Or perhaps when the two people's strength was balanced, it would affect the change in the outcome of the two people. In front of even stronger martial artists, aura was basically useless. Yixing's current strength was much, much stronger than Immerse's. No matter how powerful Immerse's aura was, Yixing did not take it seriously. Yixing smiled faintly, looked at Immerse, shook his head slightly, and said, "Kowtow to you? You're just a chicken or a pottery dog. Are you worthy?" Immerse's face instantly turned cold, and his complexion became livid. In the divine continent mystic realm, Yixing had called Immerse, Enchanting, and Xiangyang 3 chickens and pottery dogs. This was something that Immerse viewed as a disgrace. Now, Yixing called him a chicken or a pottery dog again. It was undoubtedly tearing open Immerse's scar and touching his reverse scale. Whoosh! A beam of starlight rushed out from Immerse's glabella, turning into a huge star suspended in the air. Immerse's hands instantly donned a pair of supreme-grade spirit weapon gloves. He shouted loudly, If I, Immerse, don't beat you until you can't get up today, I'll write my name backwards from now on. Beat him. Beat him. Senior brother Immerse will win. Senior brother Immerse will win. Below the battle arena, countless students cheered in unison. Kill. Immerse shouted loudly and instantly attacked. He used his supreme-grade spirit weapon, Fierce Blood Claw, and clawed at Yixing. Astral energy circulated, and surging astral energy fell from the sky, condensing into a huge blood claw that shot out explosively. Immerse used all his strength. This attack was not inferior to the peak attack of a top 7-star exalted cultivator. Even an ordinary 7-star exalted cultivator would not be able to withstand it. Faced with the terrifying power of the blood claw, Yixing snorted. He did not use astral energy or astrology, but only punched out. Yixing's small fist was not worth mentioning compared to the huge blood claw. However, when Yixing's fist collided with the blood claw light, the blood claw light was instantly smashed into pieces as if it was a piece of rotten wood. Yixing took a step forward and arrived in front of Immerse, pushing forward with both palms. Yixing's physical strength was terrifying. The air in front of him was forcefully compressed by Yixing's push, forming a wall of air that crushed forward. Boom! Immerse's defense could not withstand a single blow from Yixing. As soon as Yixing's palms touched Immerse's body, Immerse shot backward like a cannonball. There are only 3 hours left. Please vote for me. Yixing smiled faintly at Wei Qingxian and said, I'm going to the Bloody Edge Palace. Can you lead the way? Although it had been 10 days since he entered the Bloody Edge Academy, Yixing was still unfamiliar with the geography of the academy. The battle arena was in the square, so Yixing could easily find it. However, he had to ask the others where the Bloody Edge Palace was. Wei Qingxian nodded and said, Follow me. Yixing and Wei Qingxian walked side by side. The rest of the students hurriedly made way for them as they looked at Yixing with reverence. As a new student, Yixing was going to duel with Immerse, the #1 genius. Most of the students thought highly of Immerse, so they didn't take Yixing seriously. But after personally witnessing Immerse being heavily injured by Yixing, Yixing's image in the hearts of the students immediately underwent a complete change. Who would dare to belittle him? Even students at level 9 Astral Realm did not dare to look down on him. Although Mo Tong was not the strongest person in the academy, he had the highest potential and was known as the #1 genius. Yixing was younger than Mo Tong and had a lower cultivation, but he was stronger than Mo Tong. Even a fool could see that Yixing had amazing potential. Who would dare to look down on a monstrous genius with amazing potential? The Bloody Edge Palace was the place where the Bloody Edge Academy practiced cultivation techniques and martial arts. It was named after the academy, which showed how important it was. Cultivation techniques and martial arts were the foundation of a martial artist. They were the most important. In the Dark Star Pagoda, Yixing found that his biggest weakness was his lightness skill. Although he had high attainments in wind momentum and was very fast, he did not have any technique. Once he faced too many attacks, he would not be able to dodge them. Therefore, the purpose of going to the Bloody Edge Palace today was to pick a top spiritual level lightness skill. Lightning Step Technique, Fire Lotus Step Technique, Water Flow Step Technique, Afterimage Step Technique, Misty Cloud Step Technique. The Bloody Edge Academy had a total of 5 top spiritual level lightness skills. Yixing picked the Fire Lotus Step Technique and Afterimage Step Technique, which were the most suitable for him. Fire Lotus Step Technique was of the fire attribute, while Afterimage Step Technique was of the dark attribute. Comparing the two, Yixing chose the Afterimage footwork because it was more flexible and unpredictable. On the other hand, the Flaming Lotus footwork strength lay in its speed. Yixing's speed was fast enough, but he lacked flexibility. Afterimage Step Technique could make up for it. After learning Afterimage Step Technique, Yixing's 5,000 merit points were cleared. If he wanted to learn other top spiritual level martial arts, he would have to earn merit points himself. Yixing had a photographic memory. He read the cultivation method of Afterimage Step Technique once and memorized it in his mind. Then, his super brain explained the cultivation method and created a simulation in his mind to cultivate. When Yixing's mind was completely familiar with Afterimage Step Technique, Yixing began to practice it. Half a month later, in the depths of the institute, on a mountain range, a figure could be seen moving between 2 mountain peaks. He was like a phantom, moving at high speed, constantly splitting into afterimages that merged back and forth. Soon, there were more and more afterimages, and they were everywhere between the 2 mountains. In the end, the afterimages merged into one, and Yixing appeared between the 2 mountains. He let out a long sigh. Afterimage Step Technique has finally reached greater mastery. Yixing murmured with a joyful expression on his face. In just half a month, Yixing had managed to reach greater mastery of a top-tier spiritual movement technique. He was satisfied with this speed, which could be considered as godly. There were many reasons as to why his cultivation speed was so fast. First, Yixing's super brain played a huge role. Before he started practicing, Yixing had already simulated a human figure in his super brain countless times. Therefore, he was very clear about Afterimage Step Technique. Secondly, Yixing's wind momentum was at the peak of minute subtlety. It was very close to greater mastery, which was even more profound than a lot of seniors. It had a huge effect on the cultivation of lightness skill. Thinking about it, it would be very easy for a senior to cultivate a top spiritual level lightness skill. Moreover, Afterimage Step Technique was a dark attribute martial art. Yixing's dark momentum had already reached greater mastery, the realm of being one with nature. This was something that only a high-level astral-reaching realm master could achieve. Therefore, Yixing's Afterimage Step Technique was naturally easy for him. 4th update. June's explosion has ended. July 1st, the explosion will level up, and there will be more updates. My brothers and sisters, I hope for a guaranteed ticket for July. Chapter 522. Zi Xian, I'm going to make a trip to the Falling Star sect. Yixing said. At the end of this year, it would be the third genius selection. At that time, Yixing's identity would definitely be exposed. With the help of the Black Biao King, Yixing could escape. However, if the Diyuan dynasty were to shift their anger onto the Falling Star sect or the Ya family, it would be too late for Yixing to move them away. Therefore, he had to take precautions and move the Falling Star sect and the Ya family secretly. At that time, even if the Diyuan dynasty were to take revenge on the Falling Star sect and the Ya family, it would be difficult to find them after such a long time. If it were Yixing, the Diyuan dynasty would look for him no matter how long it took. However, the Falling Star sect and the Ya family did not have much influence on the Diyuan dynasty. "I'll go with you," Wei Qingxian said. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. Together, the two of them took a leave of absence from the school. Yixing returned to the sect to settle some matters, while Wei Qingxian accompanied him as his girlfriend. After leaving the school, Yixing first went to the Blood Edge Empire to purchase some items such as pills, formation materials, etc. He had plenty of star crystals on him. The Blood Edge Empire was one of the 3 biggest cities in the East Divine Continent. All sorts of spirit-grade treasures were sold here. As for mystic-grade treasures, they were hard to come by. Then, the two of them used the level 4 complete teleportation formation in the Blood Edge Empire and teleported to the Green Cloud region. The Blood Edge Empire was located in the center of the East Divine Continent. The level 4 complete teleportation formation could teleport 1 million of miles away. Therefore, one could teleport to almost any place in the East Divine Continent. Because it was not a point-to-point teleportation, one could not determine the exact location of the teleportation. One could only determine the distance and direction. In the Green Cloud region, deep within the Green Cloud Mountains, ripples appeared in the calm void, forming a space vortex. Instantly, Yixing and Wei Qingxuan's figures appeared from the space vortex. Then, the space vortex disappeared. "This is the Azure Cloud Mountain Range," Yixing said with a faint smile as he looked at the boundless mountain range. There was a familiar aura. "I've been away for more than 2 years, and now I'm back." Wei Qingxian looked at the surrounding scenery and felt a sense of homecoming. "Let's go." A pair of flaming wings appeared behind Yixing. It was the Fire Cloud Sect Master's Supreme Grade Flying Spirit artifact. In the past, Yixing didn't dare to use it in the True Xian region to avoid trouble. But now, Yixing could use it without any worries. This was the confidence brought by strength. Today, when Yixing returned to the warriors of the Falling Star sect were all excited. Yixing had once been the sect master of the Falling Star sect. Later on, he had passed the position of sect master to Gu Tianshang, but he still held the title of Grand Sect Master. The disciples of the Falling Star sect naturally still called him Sect Master Yi. "Uncle Tianshang. The Falling Star sect is my root. How can I not come back?" Yixing quickly flew in front of Gu Tianshang and chuckled. Wei Qingxian and Yixing arrived together. Wei Qingxian was wearing women's clothes with Yixing. Even the old man Gu Tianshang's eyes lit up when he saw Wei Qingxian. Gu Tianshang said with surprise, "This fairy is." Wei Qingxian was delighted to hear Gu Tianshang call her a fairy. She bowed sweetly to Gu Tianshang and said, "Junior Zi Xian greets Uncle Tianshang. I'm a student of the Blood Blade Academy." "A student of the Blood Blade Academy?" Gu Tianshang was startled. Wei Qingxuan's cultivation was higher than his, and her status was higher than his. He was not used to her calling him a junior and calling him Uncle Tianshang. Yixing was originally a disciple of They, and Gu Tianshang had known him for a long time. Therefore, Gu Tianshang could accept Yixing treating him like an elder. However, Gu Tianshang felt that he could not accept Wei Qingxian. Gu Tianshang hastily said, "You flatter me, you flatter me." Fairy is a student of the Blood Blade Academy. I should be the one greeting you. With that, Gu Tianxiang cupped his fists at Wei Qingxian. Wei Qingxian raised her hand to stop him and said, Uncle Tianxiang, I'm Yixing's girlfriend. I'll treat you the same way he treats you. You don't have to be so polite. Gu Tianxiang was stunned for a moment, then he laughed loudly. He raised his hand and patted Yixing's shoulder. Good lad. You've only been in the Blood Blade Academy for a few days, and you've already. Ha 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 ha. Good. Very good. Yixing had been in the Blood Blade Academy for less than a month, but he had already gotten such a beautiful girl to be his girlfriend. Gu Tianxiang admired Yixing from the bottom of his heart. Wei Qingxian covered her mouth and laughed. 2 deep dimples appeared on her cheeks. Yixing smiled embarrassedly and said, Ah. Uncle Tianxiang, let's go inside and talk. The first chapter is here. I'm crying for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Brothers, Chocolate's 4 chapters are the foundation. Then, I'll add 50 monthly votes and 1 chapter. Today's pretty generous, right? But today's monthly votes are too pitiful. Last month, I aimed for the top 10 in the Xuanhuan section. This month, it's still the same. But now, I'm ranked 25th in the Xuanhuan section. My God, 1/10 of 250. That's too far away from the top 10. Chocolate is crying. Brothers, give Chocolate some hope. I beg for monthly votes. I beg for monthly votes. Chapter 523. After entering the sect, Wu Yu and Hua Tianfeng came one after another. Hua Tianfeng naturally recognized Wei Qingxian, but Yixing had secretly sent him a message first, so Hua Tianfeng didn't show any surprise. Wei Qingxuan's identity was related to the Great Yuan dynasty, so even if he was surrounded by trustworthy people, he couldn't reveal her identity. If he did, it wouldn't do anyone any good and would only bring trouble. Only Hua Tianfeng knew about the relationship between Yixing and Wei Qingxian. The others all thought that Yixing had won the heart of this beautiful girl, Zi Xian, in less than a month after entering the Blood Blade Academy, and they admired Yixing from the bottom of their hearts. Master Wu Yu, did anything happen to the Starfall sect while I was away? In the Falling Star Hall, Yixing asked Wu Yu. Wu Yu nodded and said, Yixing, did you meet a 6 stars enlightened master called Long Hong in the Sun Moon sect? Yixing raised his eyebrows. He knew very well that no one in the true Xian region dared to find trouble with the Falling Star sect. If there was trouble, it could only come from the Blue Dragon Empire. And Long Hong, who he had let go, was a hidden danger. At that time, Yixing's strength was not enough to kill Long Hong, otherwise it would attract the attention of the Blue Dragon Empire, so he let Long Hong go. He didn't expect Long Hong to be so unrepentant and dare to come to the Qingyun region to find trouble with the Falling Star sect. Wu Yu saw Yixing's reaction and knew that Yixing did know Long Hong, so he continued, half a month ago, Long Hong brought 2 8 stars enlightened masters from the Blue Dragon Empire to the saying that they were looking for you. I saw that they looked unfriendly, so I didn't let them in, but they attacked the formation. Seeing that the formation was blocked by the great success of the level 3 formation, they left unwillingly and said that they would come again. At that time, I would ask the Venerable to destroy the Falling Star sect. Yixing's expression turned cold and his voice chilled. Did he really say that he would destroy the Falling Star sect? Wu Yu, Gu Tianxiang, and Hua Tianfeng all nodded. Yixing's eyes revealed killing intent as he said, I spared Long Hong's life the last time, but he doesn't know how to repent. The next time I see him, I'll definitely kill him. Master Wu Yu said, this person does indeed deserve to be killed. However, he's someone from the Azure Dragon Empire. Moreover, he said that he'll ask the Venerable One to act next time. How are we going to resist? Pausing for a moment, Master Wu Yu continued, moreover, if we kill him, how will we face the wrath of the Blue Dragon Empire? Yixing said, I have a plan to secretly move the Falling Star sect and the Ya family away. The world I am in contact with is getting wider and wider, and the martial artists I meet are getting stronger and stronger. Some are friends, and some are enemies. If some of my enemies can't find me, they will very likely vent their anger on the Falling Star sect and the Ya family. Therefore, for the next few years, the Falling Star sect and the Ya family should conceal their identities and hide in secret. One day, when I have the strength to protect them, they will show themselves to the world. Yixing did not mention the Great Yuan dynasty, so as not to scare the crowd. Yixing's plan to move the Falling Star sect surprised everyone. Gu Tianshang asked, where do you plan to move to? Yixing said, if we're too close, it'll be easy for others to find us. Therefore, I plan to move out of the True Xian domain and find a remote place to live in seclusion in the Cyan Feather domain. Move out of the True Xian domain. The Cyan Feather domain, that's the Cyan Feather Empire's territory. Everyone chimed in. Yixing said, I have some friendship with Venerable Qin Yu of the Cyan Feather domain. It won't be difficult to secretly move the Falling Star sect there. However, the two places are too far away. If there are disciples who are unwilling to leave their hometowns, then let them return to their families. Yixing then said to Wu Yu, please make a trip to the Cyan Feather Empire and find Venerable Qin Yu. Report this matter to him and ask for his help. Since the Black Tiger King could tell Venerable Qin Yu about his relationship with Yixing, it was obvious that Venerable Qin Yu was on Yixing's side. Yixing believed that Venerable Qin Yu would help him. Wu Yu looked surprised and said, you have a friendship with Venerable Qin Yu. Yixing nodded and said, he's the Venerable who has been teaching me behind my back. Although this matter was fake, since it had already been decided, Yixing naturally treated it as true. Wu Yu suddenly realized and said, so that's how it is. Yixing said, go and come back quickly. I've bought a large amount of array materials in the Blood Edge Empire. I will strengthen the sect's array in the next few days. If anyone from the Blue Dragon Empire dares to come again, I'll kill them one by one. If two come, I'll kill a pair. Yixing had learned Venerable Qi Yan's 9 serial killing arrays, but he had been lacking the materials. However, he had already bought all the materials in the Blood Edge Empire. This time, he was going to set up the same 9 serial killing arrays as Venerable Qi Yan's burial ground. The Venerables that Long Hong invited were definitely not 2 or 3 star Venerables. In the Blue Dragon Empire, 2-star Venerables and 3-star Venerables were extremely rare. In total, there were only 3 of them, and their status was extremely high. Then, it was only possible to invite a 1-star Venerables. Yixing set up the 9 serial killing arrays. If the 1-star Venerable who came was unreasonable, then Yixing would activate the 9 killing arrays and kill them all. Wu Yu took Yixing's token and immediately set off for the Blue Feather Empire. Yixing seized the time to set up the array outside the Falling Star sect. On the first night that Wei Qingxian arrived at the, she secretly left and returned to the Purple Mountain County in Azure Sky City to secretly meet with her family. Azure Sky City didn't even have a martial saint, so Wei Qingxian naturally came and went as she pleased. Apart from her parents in this life and her sister, no one knew that she had returned. Taking advantage of the night, Wei Qingxian rushed back to the Falling Star sect. Other than Yixing, no one knew that she had left. The next day, Yixing continued to set up the array. Yin Yang Fire Serpent Array. Golden Saber Array. Purple Thunder Berserk Array. Holy Light Array. One after another, Greater Success Stage 3 formations were set up by Yixing. 3 days later, the 9 killing arrays were completed. However, a large number of mid-tier star crystals were used as the source of the arrays to carve the runes, allowing the 9 arrays to be connected into one. It was exactly the same as the 9 serial-killing arrays at the Scarlet Flame Martial Highness's burial ground. Yi Xing was fully prepared at the Falling Star sect. He was only waiting for someone to come and die. Long Hong, if you dare to come again, this will be your burial ground. Yi Xing stood among the layers of killing arrays and mumbled to himself. In Yi Xing's room, Wei Qingxian came forward and said in a low voice, Yi Xing, I'd like to pay a visit to the old site of the Spirit Moon sect. Since you finished setting up the arrays, come with me. Yi Xing shook his head and said, the Spirit Moon sect was destroyed by the Deyuan dynasty. It's highly possible that they've left something behind. It's better if you don't go. Wei Qingxian said, I'll just take a look from afar. I'll feel uneasy if I don't go. Yi Xing pondered for a moment before saying, I'll go with you, but not now. We'll talk about it when we're done with our business and leave the True Xian domain. Otherwise, it won't be good if we attract the experts of the Deyuan dynasty. Second update, Chocolate, please guarantee monthly votes, please recommend votes. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.